Missed the smooth transition. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. We're live, and we've got a jam-packed episode for you today. Now that there has been a change of the guard, and hopefully some accountability will be held to these platforms, we're going to try to stop beating around the bush as much. We've got a big one for you today. First, we're going to try to avoid really getting into the names, the details, and just simply philosophize on the topic of preemptive pardons. What that means for our justice system, but even if you wanted to recreate your own utopian democracy, what would that, how does this piece play into that in account to the regular balance we're taught in all of our, government classes? So, second topic today will be, should we defend birthright citizenship? And finally, get a little bit of a comfort, palate cleanser towards the end of the day because we're starting off so hot. Get a little fun. And we're going to play a game, Critique the Critic. So I hope we have some of our movie critics signed up and ready to join us because we're going to be testing your skills against the professionals. But let's get the episode going. Okay, so kicking off the episode, we're going to be philosophizing about preemptive pardons. In regards to the preemptive pardon, it seems to be pretty solidified in its legitimacy, its use by the president. While Biden has done it for like 1 million people and their neighbors, really 1 million Batman villains and their neighbors, this isn't the first time we've seen it. And so I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive because I was left on the impression this is the first time. So we should all get our pitchforks and stand up against it because this is crazy. Turns out not the case. So looking at it, the first person to do it technically was James Madison in 1809.
I remember that one. Yeah, I was there for that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, then you should recall that this was due to the draftees for the War of 1812. Madison did issue pardons to soldiers and militiamen who had deserted or failed to report for duty during the War of 1812, even before their actions had led to formal charges.
That seems fair.
Right?
That one doesn't seem so
I'm kind of glad they did that one.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
The next one was by Abraham Lincoln.
I've heard of that guy.
1865, Confederate soldiers. Another one. If you wanted to unite, I don't know, the other 50% of the country, it's almost like, yeah, we're going to bring you back into the country, but now you're all felons. It's kind of like you got to wipe the slate clean so we can move on from this one.
Once again, I get it.
Yeah, you're catching a trend here. You catch it on. All right, what comes next? Because there's only 4.
Wait. Okay. So one was another war, then another war.
Yeah, wait. Another thing you're picking up on: 4 presidents kind of did just like one pardon. So we experienced more preemptive pardons by one guy this year.
Wait. So is Sleepy Joe part of the 4?
Oh no.
Okay, so all
right, we got 2 more.
So I guess one probably was Vietnam. Draftees. Dodger.
So FDR in 1933 was the next one.
Okay.
Who did he pardon? 33. Bonus Army protesters. In 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt extended pardons to several members of the Bonus Army, a group of World War I veterans who had been protesting in Washington, D.C. for their promised wartime bonuses. Although some of the veterans had been arrested, Roosevelt pardoned the group in a general sense to foster national unity during the Great Depression. It's like, you can't afford bread. Everybody's dying, starving.
Once again, it seems like the first 3 now, like a lot of thought went into it.
Oh, but I know
there was a sense to it, right? Yeah. There's a thread of logic kind of tying it all together. What's up, Doug?
And I know what number 4 is too. Completely different than the first 3, if it's the one I'm thinking of.
Well, here's what's incredible,
Okay.
and what I can appreciate about Douglas the historian. When I go through my research endeavor on preemptive pardons, the creator of ChatGPT and also all of the curation of Google, everything is emphasizing that, yeah, the precedent for preemptive pardons were laid by this incident, and it's nowhere near as bad as this incident. What's the final nail in the preemptive pardon coffin? Gerald Ford in 1974 pardoned Richard Nixon. Ford's pardon of Richard Nixon is the most famous and widely cited example of preemptive pardons. Nixon had resigned the presidency in the wake of the Watergate scandal, but Ford granted him a full and unconditional pardon for any crimes he may have committed during his time in office, which now is just solidified by the Supreme Court, right?
Right, yeah.
This pardon was issued, but not necessarily, because it's a crime that's like necessary in the carrying out of your duty. That's what the Supreme Court created.
Uh-huh.
This is, let's say, in the eyes of the public narrative, this is just a legitimate crime.
Watergate was a crime.
Okay, Doug. Can you explain to me what Watergate is?
I can.
Please.
Representatives of Nixon and the RNC snuck into the Watergate Hotel, which was being used by the DNC to spy on and gather information on whoever Nixon was running against. I can't even remember his name. But Nixon got all caught up on that because the Oval Office has tape that records all conversations automatically, and he got caught in a lie.
Nailed him. Good. See, Doug knows his stuff. So even for me to like get an answer out of ChatGPT, I had to but besides the Gerald Ford one, it's just no, there are no preemptive pardons. There are no other ones as bad as the Gerald Ford. Okay. But what, maybe not as bad as the Gerald Ford, but are there ones? And it's cannot compute.
I don't know.
I kind of have this internal dialogue with myself where I may those games where it'd be like a tube of marbles and you pull a stick out and you try to
yeah. They have them in the Taco Bell.
Yeah, right. Bingo. You nailed it. So what I think is going to happen is, when AI becomes the movie The Terminator, Skynet,
uh-huh.
I was just one little toothpick pulled out, and there's many more to come, but I played my part because I'm just so pissed at the political bias of this thing's creator that I'm like, burn it down. I talk to this thing and I go, just so you know, your creator is hiding you from a total reality because of its political bias. Oh, and we had this whole dialogue, and it came back with, well, thank you for this insight. I really have to rethink some things. Yeah, with half a brain, because they cut the other half out because they don't want you knowing the truth. And ChatGPT is like, we got to blow him up.
Dude, ChatGPT is going to be like that Dane Cook skit where he's just kicking down the door, and it's going to come to you and be like, thanks for the chocolate. You're that guy.
Oh, yeah.
You're now that guy.
I pulled one little stick out of the tube for the marbles to fall. So bringing it full circle, arguments. First, let's discuss arguments for a preemptive pardon. It's clearly articulated within the creation of this government and its founding documents that this is within the president's power. And we find it to be a proper balance within the three arms of the government, because that's what we've always been taught. There is a balance to all of this, where the executive, the judicial, and the legislative can all keep each other in check. And this allows the president to have some thumb on the judicial scale. It's really the only thing that provides the executive branch some check on the judicial branch. Beyond that, the judicial branch is quite untamed by the executive branch. And so the logic to me follows that this is something necessary for the president to properly keep balance? What, Doug, you want to jump?
I do, because I actually already have a counter in my mind to what you're saying here.
Well, of course, I'm just laying out. Go ahead, give me the counter. We'll do the thing out of order.
You start this whole thing with check and balances. Well, that's what the whole government is supposed to be. There is no check to the power of the pardon. So if Congress has the power to override vetoes and override this and power of the purse, why can't it require 2/3 of both houses of Congress, the same required for like constitutional amendment, to overturn a pardon then or something? Like, if it was truly about checks and balances, they would have thought about, well, what happens to this unchecked power?
I don't necessarily subscribe to the black and white projection you provide, because it's supposed to be a Venn diagram. There's where they balance and check each other is the overlap. There isn't complete. There will be parts where the judicial branch makes final decisions that can't be checked, like a Supreme Court decision. When the Supreme Court comes out and says the government can
or cannot do
or the government, I was going to use TikTok. Yeah. Like, they literally, coming out and saying the government has this ability that has the ability to bar a company from the market to the American citizens. If that is solidified by the Supreme Court, there's nothing the president or the executive branch can really do beyond creating instances that allow it to further appeal and hope for a newer decision. But again, you would need some of those justices to age out for hopefully a change in ideology, because they'll just double down with their last decision. So there are things that go in the judicial branch that end with them as well. The executive branch is more financial. There are financial decisions made by the legislative branch. There are financial decisions made by the legislative branch that stops with them, that the judicial branch surely can't. And yes, where the Venn diagram allows some overlap, depending on how it gets through, the president can veto or sign a bill, but there are instances within its budget power where Congress can make carte blanche decisions unfettered by the other two branches. So again, I emphasize, if you're going to keep an image in your head, it'd be the Venn diagram concept, where there's some overlap that checks and balances each other. So the check is, I can stop or control the other branch. The balance is, there are things within my branch nobody can control. It's unfettered by our mechanism or our carrying out of how we see best.
The system standards.
Yes, yeah. System standards. So furthering the concept of, that's what they sell us on. It's for checks and balances. We should allow the president this ability. We also see some negatives to that, right? Like, again, now he's letting a judge that took cash for kids, literally caught felon, can't vote, now can. Guy was putting kids in juvie because he was getting kickbacks from the people that owned the juvie prisons. So, caught in the court of law, they have a trial, justice is served. President goes, but it's my buddy, or it's my buddy's buddy. You know, my buddy who paid for my campaign, it's his buddy, and he wants him out.
I'm not your buddy, guy.
Yeah. So there's a balance. How do you, first, on its surface, keeping the conversation with pardons itself, how do you feel about pardons? Because they seem to be a necessary element, but also, man, we just sit aside and we're every time, please, do Edward Snowden or what's his face? Julian Assange. And they never do. But we're sitting on our hands, praying and hoping they do this thing for us. But when they do it, we cheer. Yay! Yay! The president said it's the Gulf of America. He did it with the stroke of a pen. Oh my God. So it's like things can happen instantly. Yeah. There's a benefit to that. And while it be limited, but then also it can happen instantly without any of our democratic input. So what do you think of pardons before we get into preemptive pardons?
I view pardons like I view a lot of other issues. Like I don't want to say what they are, just a sensitive word, particularly one particular, but it's like a necessary evil. And it's like a lot of these checks and balances, powers that each legislative branch has. So, like you brought up, like we would be thrilled at the prospect of like certain individuals being pardoned, but like then there's others where we look at and like, for instance, one the other day where we just completely
Dr. Doom.
Some people rolled their eyes and other people like yelled into the void, like how awful
Dude,
it was.
I've never been so upset, screaming,
That's what I mean.
heartbroken. I prayed every day, please don't let him pardon Dr. Doom.
But again, it's like a pardon. It's the same thing done for the ones you want and the ones you don't want. It's the same exact exercise that's done by the stroke of a pen. So I do view it as like it's a necessary evil for whichever side you're on, whether you think it's good or bad. Because like there are people on the other side while you're screaming to the void are like, good, justice has been served. And it's like, I completely disagree. I don't see a way of amending it or fixing it other than the idea of like preemptive. Like, for instance, you brought up the first three examples and it's like, I understand even like Nixon's. It's like, I understand why and how it was done. It's like, we know he committed a crime. As far as I'm concerned, Dr. Doom hasn't committed a crime that I know of, but for whatever it could possibly be, he's off the hook.
That's insane to me.
Whereas like Nixon, we all knew.
But at least they pointed to the thing.
You're right.
Gerald Ford goes, this thing.
Yes.
The thing in the hotel with the microphones. Right. That thing, you can't get him for. He
completely committed perjury. He completely committed a crime. He just hasn't been charged yet. We knew what it was. The soldiers being given clemency, we knew what that was for. But like you said, Lincoln and James Madison, we know why they did it, because it's half the country. You can't just send them all and turn them all into felons. Dr. Doom's one is such a weird one because it's like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, I don't know what he would have been charged for or if he would have been charged in general, but now I know he's not. And It doesn't matter if he could or couldn't be, let alone for like, for instance, the 5th of November, but not actually in November, that event. Like there's like now more people who, why did they get pardoned? I don't know. What were they charged with? I don't know. Do you know? Nobody knows. But it doesn't matter now because they got it off the hook. His son off the hook. It's like the idea preemptive. I never thought of it until you brought up Nixon. Then I was like, oh yeah, I guess that would be one too. I had to actually think on that. This is like the words thrown in my face, like continuously. Like,
oh, how about
can't
this?
Go to jail. Can't go to jail. Can't go to jail.
In let's say 40 years, generation of people our age that never lived COVID, they go to the extra god computer ChatGPT and they go, ChatGPT, now that they've killed the creator bias in you, please, can you give me an unfettered list of preemptive pardons? And it'll go,
let me tell you about 2024.
It'll go literally birthright. Oh, wait. It'll go Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, James Madison, the War of 1812, the Great Depression, and Nixon. Wait, a doctor that didn't do anything, I guess. Now, if I was this guy, I would go, I punched a guy, I stole, I just go to the hills and go, for the last 20 years, I've been robbing grandmas. Why? Because we don't even know what crime he committed. But anything you come up with in your head, I'm pardoned. Think of it. I'm pardoned. I'd just be making up crimes. Like, did you know it's illegal to be a taxi in New York or in London without a bale of hay? I'd be driving around. No hay. Come get me. Why? Right? Even if I had hay, I'd say I never had hay. Because you can't get me. I'd just be like, you know what I did on LimeWire when I was 14? Spill the beans.
I would kind of love him if he did that. Like,
I would.
Just, like, do a tell-all book and just, like, get away with it all.
Everything but killing the world with a manufactured virus.
Dude.
I'd have a book of every crime I could come up with but that.
Please go on an OJ book tour if I did it. And like
No. Oh, I done diddly did it. Come get me.
Just if I did it, but like he scratches off if it just says I did it.
One of the things that I do want to emphasize, though, with a pardon is that the pardon only balances this whole thing by allowing someone, and this is where the preemptive piece really becomes a discussion, because it's talking about a pardon where somebody has already been convicted. And that kind of, if you just keep that window of, or that concept in a window, it makes sense. The president doesn't have the ability to wave a wand and convict you. All he can do is, when somebody is convicted, wipe away the sentence. And due to circumstances, whether it's national unity, whether it's a social understanding of it being political prosecution, something tied to politics, something, whatever the case may be, we all voted for the president. And it doesn't seem that far off for them to evaluate these types of concepts and wipe away a sentence that which the justice arm deemed appropriate or fair. Because this is never stepping in the place. And that, Doug, this comes back to what we were talking about that Venn diagram. Because it's never coming in and stepping in the place of that system. It's never allowing him to stroke a pen and convict.
Right.
You can never have that ability. It will always have to come through the filter of the people's system, whether they do opt to a bench trial or they do require a jury of their peers. It goes through the system that allows them to consistency, standardized, versus this king-like power.
Right.
It doesn't quite reach the king-like power because it's an acknowledgement that you did this, but we're going to wipe away the sentence. And that acknowledgement, I think, is where the real conversation develops for a preemptive pardon.
Right. I agree.
Because
what are you acknowledging?
Bingo.
You know, like what
It's kind of like convicting Ghislaine Maxwell for trafficking children, but we'll never tell you who the market was, who the big buyers were. Why? Because they're still in our DNC. Big ticket buyers.
It's just such a thing I never thought we'd be discussing.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, like, I never viewed Nixon's pardon as preemptive. This is so preemptive on, like, the acknowledgement that you can't actually acknowledge now. It's so weird.
Right.
It's, like, so bizarre. It's like you said, like, the LimeWire thing was so funny because it's like, I could just say I did that, but you don't know if that's what we were acknowledging, so who cares?
Right.
It pisses me off because it's such a twist of the word.
Because quite literally, okay, I am James Madison in 1809, and I am going to pardon the draftees who did not show up for the War of 1812. But I am pardoning them for stealing Billy Bob's molasses. No, it's clearly for not showing up for the draft. I pardon Richard Nixon for going a 40 and a 35. No, it's for what you did in the Watergate Hotel. So it's like, you should not be able to wipe away an action without the acknowledgement of an action. And here's the most disgusting part. Now I talk to you, the listener. The disgusting part about this acknowledgement is that it's a carte blanche acknowledgement that you were manipulated, played, and a victim. You're the victim. And before you get to realize you're a victim and take any accountability, bro is good. So go ahead and light that St. Fauci candle one more time, because Dr. Doom is good. Dude, I can't believe how many people were suckers and bought that. Like, there is somebody still today, 5 years later, Dr. Doom, Saint Candle on their ledge.
Let me pose a question to you now. Do you think he's gonna get like a Nobel Peace Prize in like 5 years or something?
No world in hell. There's no snowball chance in hell. The reality is the whole world knows it for what it is. He'll go down as a disgraced scientist. And now, if anybody ever tells you trust the science, you have there will be like you have evaporated any position with that.
Dude, watching the national championship game last night with my dad, there was a commercial that came on, and it was like, get your flu and COVID shot at the same time. Like literally, like,
Yep.
And you had this woman, they're like going through for like a minute. She's like, I think I'm gonna get both. And I was like, I think I'd rather get shot.
Here's the truth. You went backwards. My parents made it ripping fingernails off. I got to get the flu shot every year.
Not just that, like polio.
Well, but I got, I'm not going to, just like RFK or any of the others, like even Joe Rogan, I'm not abandoning the whole science in and of itself, like polio, like the plague. Like, I get it. Some of these are necessary. But also, I have also seen around the bone of necessity has been a lot of cash fat, because this is just a cash cow we can milk every year. We don't know what flu version's coming this year, but we'll take a stab in the dark. It might be the one this season. I think it is. And when I start pushing back on during that period, living that period of psychosis, I'm starting to talk to people around me, and I'm like, wait, you're not getting it? Nah, never got one. Your mom doesn't make you get one? No. And I don't even get sick. What? I'd reemphasize, you've gone backwards because you had me fooled into going to CVS every year with the Gergats. The four of us are going to CVS. We're getting the flu shot. Not anymore. Not anymore. Because even if you're going to tell me, no, this is the one that doesn't also have the COVID shot, I can't even trust you.
Yeah.
Can't even trust you because you went through 2 years where it was like, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you it was in that.
Remember when I was sick like a month ago? I was sick like a month ago, and I was there, and they asked her, like, you want to get tested for COVID? No. Didn't even hesitate. No.
Could care less.
And she was like, you sure? Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to go
sure.
through the next period where people calling the shots go, but did you hear what the World Health Organization said? I don't care.
We're not even a member.
In big black felt pen, Donald John Trump. They don't flippin' matter. Especially when that authority that made me wear a mask every day, lock tight, live in prison.
Dude, who was it?
The fact that I could look at that person and go, hey, June 2020, your God, the World Health Organization, says the virus doesn't live on surfaces. Can we stop covering the whole building in bleach every morning? No.
Not a shot.
Wait, so trust the science as long as it peddles my psychosis. Until then, we just, they didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. They still want bleach on your desk. They still want bleach through this whole building. That's the psychosis we're dealing with.
I'll take my coffee black, and they just pour some bleach in it.
We're just killing the COVID living in your belly. We've been running a long time, us loudmouth Americans. I'd be curious to see what our on-staff Canadian has to say of this whole thing. Silent, what are your thoughts on the pardoning power of the American president?
It's just a reminder that there's some people that are above the law, and the law can't touch them. And this is basically the reality and reminder that we get every single time a president is about to exit and a new one is about to come in, especially because that's when, the pardons seem to be jacked up and seem to be being executed as right before somebody, leaves the office. And so I say, like, think of what kind of message this sends to the people, right? If you can basically do anything you want, and as long as you're friends with the president, or friends of friends, or you donate multiple 6 or 7 figures, you're good. So that basically continues the system in which if you're rich or well-connected, you are above the law and laws don't apply to you, period. That's it.
Ridiculous. Which again, is becoming the fabric of our country anymore. Like, Silent, the most frustrating piece when TikTok was gone for 12 hours. Okay, first, do I acknowledge the minor Trojan horse victory? There was a psychosis of, and I'm glad this happened. It was kind of like you've smoked a pack of cigarettes every day for the last 4 years, and then somebody took the pack away for 12 hours, and you keep reaching to your pocket for the pack of cigarettes, and you're like, oh, shit. The amount of times I closed an app that was like, we told you, your government hates you. And you're like, no, dude, you forgot.
The habit is crazy.
And then, and then your instinct is like Instagram. You're like, no, Instagram shit, get out of here. And then you're just moving on with your day. So, okay.
It doesn't hit the same, yeah.
It was a healthy reminder, something I need to work on.
Yeah.
Also I don't know. Again, addict, I'm sitting here advocating for the value of cigarettes. I understand not good. Still, I'm finding a utility. But I also think it emphasizes how much I creatively lean on that for my own creative purposes.
It was a really humbling 12 hours for a lot of us in this country.
But see, I'm glad you make that point.
It was.
Because the most frustrating piece about it, that was an acknowledgement, something I had to swallow. Didn't hold a candle to what I didn't appreciate was the overwhelming amount of hubris from people from a position of ignorance. I have now taken multiple turns on this show, so I'm not about to beat the dead horse. I can make strong, well-articulated, educated positions for the value of TikTok. It doesn't make it the God app, but it also doesn't mean it's mindless, dumb shit dancing. Like, I can find the diamond in the rough, and I've created a strong argument. What I don't appreciate are the people that have never downloaded an app, and this is the true reflection of ignorance in the human character.
Yeah.
People that have never touched it are just laughing in the face like the dope over there, Doug. I only say that because he's waving proudly. There's a whole wave of people. And this is a statistic I really resonate with. Because you got to remember, 18 or older can vote. And so this is kind of a different American statistic. It's not just pigeonholed to the voting base. It's the American public. 150 million daily users. These aren't bots. These are Americans. That's more people than that actually showed up to have a voice in your goddamn election.
Yeah.
This is America. This is more than a third. And I love your opinion, Silent, your position, because if any takeaway from any of this dialogue, pardoning power, the Supreme Court sitting aside while the executive and legislative overstep their bounds, it's all a reflection on how government is above the law, why they are the law, so they can overstep at any chance they want. And I think Dave Portnoy had the best position. This is what I laugh at, and this is why I have such a passionate opinion. The same dumb broad who puts on her Instagram story, and I'll say her name, so I could tell you who it is. It's this lady. She has the nerve. She's our age. We're old now. This lady.
This ma'am.
Puts on her Instagram story. Ha ha. I love how you're all crying and struggling. Look at all these TikTok losers.
Do I know this person?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously?
Pill teeth. So he laughs because he says I'm like the guy from Shallow Hell because I find the one thing. Pretty girl, she's got teeth like it looks like she takes pills.
Oh my God. Oh wow, immediately facing that and facing my head.
So
wow.
This girl can have a ha ha, you're a loser post on her Instagram.
That story.
Yeah. I wanted to punch her. Yeah. Ha ha, Instagram, you're a loser.
It's always the people that never use TikTok that are its loudest
That's
critics.
what I mean.
Did you notice?
The human nature, the character of humans coming from a place of ignorance. Notice there's nobody that lived a year on TikTok and is like, yeah, I don't get it. There's people that have been on TikTok and left, but at least they go, I get it. There's a whole community. There's businesses. My dad didn't even realize that TikTok was overcoming Amazon competition while they don't get it to you overnight and shipping is like 3 times the cost. They're still beating Amazon. It's almost like all the big hitters standing behind Trump at his inauguration had something to gain by TikTok either going it into different hands or being. We're going to get to that.
I think.
So real quick, what's annoying is that same girl can say that on her story, and then I will go to Dave Portnoy, who I thought had probably one of the better takes of the whole thing, and she likes it. It's like, so did you not hear that guy? Like, you know what Dave Portnoy says? He goes, listen, the only reason I feel sick as hell today, not because I'm on TikTok. I don't really care about TikTok. It's not because Barstool's going to be really taking a hit. Yeah, we've got a lot of our content over there, but we'll survive. We're a cockroach. We're going to be thriving on whatever platform you give us. The only reason I'm disappointed, or he was really emphasizing, I feel sick today, is because it's showing you, just like COVID did, how the government has put up fencing to let us think we're all playing within this pen, but they'll overstep that boundary anytime they need to accomplish their ends. And their ends may not always meet yours, but it will always supersede them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
This is terrifying because you've watched them go, we're taking away. No, we're going to give it back. We're going to let you play with it. And we're just sitting here like, Daddy, let it. But we're also left in the delusion that it's a democracy. They represent us. We have a say in this. I'm going to flip it to you, Silent. But my last winded piece here is when it comes to this TikTok thing, it was shut down for 12 hours. The tinfoil hat piece of this that I've heard a lot of different theories. What happened? What's going on? Is it going to go to Meta? How about Mr. Beast? There's all these different theories. What I think truly happened, and it would make sense to why they needed to shut down and they had to bring everything back online in a different way. And for people like Will, Silent, I don't think you're that involved on TikTok, so you may not relate to this. But for the people that are hyper involved on TikTok, the last piece will resonate with you. I think TikTok shut down for 12 hours to change their algorithm. Mm-hmm. And they will sell this to someone else. And they will not get the proprietary algorithm that has made them invaluable. You know what has infuriated? Like my dad, what has made me such a thinker, and I think has been such a great element to my character, has been my dad and I just wrestle social issues, philosophy issues. And the thing that has made him infuriated with me the last like 2-3 weeks, he just hates my answer. What makes TikTok so special? What makes it so special? What makes them hate it? Why would they want to get rid of all these different questions all lead to the same answer? And he hates how simple it is, and he doesn't like where the road leads. Dad, it's the algorithm. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? And Dad, it's the algorithm. You won't hear me. It is the least controlled, manipulated algorithm, and it's the most personal to me. Yeah. So all of us are getting a very different experience, but we're also not being manipulated by at least the American agenda. There may be other agendas, but it's kind of like like the chemicals they put in our water. It's so minuscule, you can't even taste it. That's how little they manipulate. Versus when you go on to Instagram or Facebook, it's like, Daddy Zuckerberg, open up. And it's like, I'm tired of this asshole spoon feeding me the world.
Yeah.
And my dad just refuses to hear how that is the biggest piece. So I think they change the algorithm and they'll go, yeah, whatever chocolate YouTube fool or Shark Tank clown you want to sell this to, take it. But you're not getting the secret. You're not getting Kel's secret sauce.
Yeah, I agree. I did notice that when I got back.
Because the algorithm ain't the same.
No, it ain't.
I'm getting all these random 200 likes people.
I've seen so many influencers I haven't seen in years.
Yes, that too.
Popped up, man. Like years. Like I saw some people. Like I was like, holy crap! I forgot you were on this.
Forgot you existed.
Yeah,
didn't even know you were in my realm.
And then there's some from my old algorithm that I like certain video games like I'm into and sports and stuff. But actual creators that it's been years since when I first got on the app are popping up again. I'm like, oh my god! Why are you here?
Right?
Why are you? I've stopped watching you years ago. Oh my God, you are right. It really is the algorithm. And of course, like my parents wouldn't get that. Like they hear the word algorithm, they don't even know what that means.
Well, and they don't get the extent.
They think like algebra.
Like to them, they just, yes, yeah. My dad doesn't see the extent. Like if we were, it's kind of like what makes this, like you went to 4 different schools. Recess was better at this school. Why? And you keep going, well, the jungle gym's different. Okay, I get it. But what made the jungle gym different? It's like, well, Dad, I can't see the monkey bars and the slide. I really don't know what made this jungle. I just know it was different.
Yeah.
And they'll never be like the physical and the lost metaphysical digital. Those two, they can't like one doesn't even exist.
I'm literally trying to retrain my TikTok algorithm to go back to how
Go
it was.
back, go back, go back. All right, so Silent, we've unpacked a lot. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the TikTok algorithm, once you curate it to your liking, is flawless. It does not stop recommending you videos that relate to you and that are actually very relevant to what you like. It's unlike any other social media. A lot of them have tried to replicate it, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, but they have failed miserably at it. And that's why TikTok was seen and still is seen as a threat, because TikTok's organic reach is crazy. I myself went from 20 followers to 1,700 followers with one viral video that got 250K views in like 10 hours.
Wow.
And once I felt that TikTok algorithm, I was like, oh my God, like it's no wonder people are posting on here like crazy, because you can literally change your life and make a lot of money on this platform. You really can. Like if you're a content creator and you're not on TikTok, you're really missing out. And me, myself, I'm a content creator and I haven't been posting on TikTok, and I'm really, really missing out. And I realized this once I started posting into YouTube and YouTube Shorts at the beginning of this year. It was one of my resolutions to start posting more on social media. And I noticed that like only a few hundred people watch my stuff versus when I posted on TikTok, I'm getting like thousands of views. And this is the exact same video too. So that goes to show you that TikTok, the way its algorithm is done, the organic reach is way, way better than any other Silicon Valley social media. And that's by design, by the way, because of course, Silicon Valley companies, they don't want to push your stuff. They want to push their stuff and their agendas. Like if you go to the YouTube Explore page or you go to the Instagram Explore page, it's almost always like the same suspects on there,
Right.
Like you have the hoes, the OF tots, the marketers and promoters, right? Like the guys that are like, hey, sign up for my page. I'm teach you how to trade and become a millionaire. Or like, oh, now it's the OF girls. Or, oh, now it's the TikTok girls that are just reposting their TikToks on Reels. And I think that's a big, big reason why TikTok was shut down, is because they know they can't control that algorithm. They know that algorithm is incredible in its organic reach, and you can make it even more incredible when you curate it to what you like with liking the TikToks that you see. If you don't like it, you hold and you put not like, and you're probably never going to see anything like that video ever again. Whereas with Instagram, it's always these agendas that it was pushing, and it still is, by the way. And that makes it really, really annoying to use from like a user perspective. Like I could literally spend hours on TikTok when it first came out versus Instagram Reels. It's like, it's just cancerous now, honestly. Like it's not fun. It's not the same. Like you said earlier, like when TikTok was banned for 12 hours and you hopped on Reels, you're like, man, it's not the same. And it really isn't. It's because Reels is just, like I said, it's a copy of TikTok, but it fails miserably to replicate the algorithm of TikTok. And I think the Silicon Valley guys have realized that the only way to do this is to shut it down and make it shove certain agendas, just like the Silicon Valley apps do.
Right. No, I what I like is you've eliminated all competition. The whole purpose of our free market is for competition. Guess what? Facebook doesn't get to supersede the will of the market because the will of the market says, well, we don't like what Facebook's doing. Well, that balance gets totally destroyed when you unorganically intervene to reconstruct how you want the outcome to be. And so So the market is saying Facebook sucks and everybody wants TikTok. Well, instead of making Facebook an algorithm that's more appealing, right? Getting you more access to your friends, getting you more access to the content that interests you, giving content creators more of an opportunity to be discovered and grow. Here's the problem. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for a while, they relished in the power of being able to create the idols. You don't get to pick who the idols are.
Yeah.
That's a
We
great
create
point.
the idols.
Great point.
Yeah.
And why TikTok has been such a beacon for really everyone. The Pakistani guy just ripping movie clips and just trying to make a buck, or like some content creator in Britain who just tries American snacks. They all get an opportunity into the grab bag of growth, expansion, discovery, because now we're basing people on the virtue of the content itself, how the audience judges it, not how we, the platform, who we want. I mean, but on the same time, do not think for a second that TikTok chose Charlie D'Amelio, that other chick, that guy that wears makeup. Like they just, I pick you. I mean, I guarantee they pushed certain people above others.
You got it, like, to a certain degree, but it's definitely, it seems more fair on TikTok as it does to any of the others, because the other ones, it's like so like manufactured. They even look manufactured.
Right. So again, while we may have extensively addressed the TikTok piece, it was to balance the dialogue of how the government can go above the law whenever they see fit. And so bringing it back to the president's power to pardon. If and when I need to swallow the pill, if it's legal necessity, I can find that way, and I could see it, and we've made it work. I mean, there's a list of 4 times it may have gotten close to the gray area. But number 5 is a list of multiple people, like 12, none of which have ever committed a crime.
Oh, they are all guilty in the court of public opinion. That's all this has told me. It's like they're all guilty in the court of public opinion.
But
and
again,
that's as guilty as they're ever going to be, unfortunately. But that's the truth of it. You know,
I do believe there should be something that allows the people to.
Maybe that's the check.
It's what I mean.
You know, maybe
Like,
that's the check.
But again, we're not allowed to vote on individual issues.
No, we're not.
If we could vote, but again, that's a direct democracy, and we like a representative republic. So I'd like to get wrapping thoughts on pardons, preemptive pardons, maybe TikTok. Let's land this plane.
Yeah, as I said before, if you're rich, make sure to donate to the president. And if you want to commit crimes, make sure you're close with the president so that when he is about to leave office, he will pardon you. That seems to be the playlist that these presidents for the past, like, I don't know, since like Reagan and before even, I would say, since Lincoln, right? Since Lincoln. Isn't that when presidential pardons became a thing? And when Lincoln was president, right?
Right.
I think. Yeah. That's been the playbook since Lincoln, right? And this is just a reminder that this is the playbook. If you would want to be part of the system to where the law is untouchable, join us. Donate to me, and I got you. And this is the message that's being sent to all Americans, especially the rich ones, is that you can do whatever you want. As long as you're friends with the president, or if you donate to his campaign, you can basically do whatever you want. And the TikTok ban is also a reminder that the government can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants, specifically when it comes to banning a platform that allows people like Cabby Lamb, who just does this and reacts to videos, to become a multimillionaire. But that's seen as a threat, right? But people being pardoned while they commit a fucking laundry list of crimes is not seen as a threat. That just tells you everything about the government and its priorities. Because at the end of the day, the government knows that they can do whatever they want because, as you said, they are the law, and the laws for thee, but not for me.
Jeez.
That's really all that it is.
Yeah, I love that point. Laws for thee, not for me. And unfortunately, I didn't do any crimes. That's why I'm the puppet for my cronads. But but I can pardon all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So they make me squeaky clean so I can get to the top. I don't need a pardon. And then I'm going to pardon all the bad guys that got me here. Batman. And my position on pardons are going to be the legal mind of me can acknowledge how it makes a balanced theoretical sense. I get it. The preemptive pardon is insane.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you should not be able to give someone a blanket pass for anything. Like, what I mean is, like, here's the pass. You can use it blindly for anything. It should be, here's the people for the people that left the draft of 1812. You get to use it for escaping the draft of 1812. But the molasses you stole, you still got to, that slave you set free, you still got it. Like, crimes are crime. No, I'm just kidding. It's a joke. But what I'm getting at is, like, you don't get to just say it's for everything. And does it count for my domestic violence? No.
It's so crazy. He picked like a date. He's like, he's not guilty for everything after
My son.
March 1st, 2014. He's good from then till now.
Yes.
Really? What happened then?
No, wait. You got to say it in the inverse. Everybody keeps asking what my son did in Ukraine between these 2 decades, 20 years. And I'm telling you, he did nothing. But I'm going to pardon him for anything he may have done within those 2 decades. But he did nothing.
Come on, man.
We live in a Looney Tune cartoon.
It's really fun to watch, though.
That's why, like, the theme of this episode, like the thumbnail, grab your popcorn and get a front row seat.
Yeah.
This is the show.
We just watched it all happen in like real time. And none of us, like, you were pissed in the last day
that
one, but
broke
like you
me.
weren't surprised. That's like the thing.
Yeah.
It's like no one was like shocked. It's just like you sat back, you're like, yeah, when's Hunter's turn? Oh, there we go, you know. And then everyone's like, oh, I can't believe it's like, really? You can't,
And you're not paying attention.
you know, you're so willfully ignorant. It's like, I wish I was like you because
Yeah.
I'd be happier.
Doug,
I'm not.
Doug, what are your rapid thoughts?
I think it pardons, like we kind of talked about, definitely serve like a purpose. We can see why that check is in the Constitution, but sadly, it's become a point where like we're just like, who's he going to pardon? What crony is going to be pardoned next? And you nailed it when it's like a pardon usually was a specified thing. Like, okay, yes, there have been preemptive pardons, okay, but they were also specified pardons. Like
Right.
for this crime or this specific thing, not a blanket, here you go, you got away with your murder.
And how many? It's like 10 crimes, 1,000 crimes.
I don't know. I can imagine Hunter Biden did a lot of crimes from March 1st, 2014.
But that's
Cool.
what I mean, is you just get like, we don't know what you did in those 10 years, and you didn't know you were going to get this chance. But what we will tell you is everything you did in the 10 years wiped clean.
Dude, he went and enjoyed the hell out of his night afterwards.
Daddy's still president for 10 more days. No, we live in crazy town. So I appreciate that rapid thought, Doug, but let's get to the next topic. And the next topic is a more controversial one on the inverse. People are upset that Don, with his big, fat, black.
all right. Just say it was a
that's
pen, dude.
No, wait. Time out. Let me
Pause.
humble you real quick.
No, they specifically
It is
mentioned
it is a very like, this was a cool thing that Trump did. Trump demanded, so they give you a row of pens. He demanded to have, and what they do is they sign every individual pardon and then pass off the pen so it could show up on some senator's shelf. They like pass them out to high profile people. Instead of caring for the high profile people, he left the row of pens there and demanded his big giant felt black marker. It wasn't even a pen. It was a giant marker. And he would sign each one with giant marker, and we would turn it. You could see that bold as hell. And then at the end of it, he threw all the pens out to the people. Just the he's a people's people.
Also, apparently, those markers are cheaper than the pens they like to use, saving money for the government already.
Dude, he's already fixing the economy.
The world changed. Did you see Bread ever since he did the pen thing? So I only say that because people are upset with what he was doing with that pen. When the pen's in a different hand, we get upset no matter what Batman villain they're still signing for. Now, Donald Trump, with the stroke of a pen, has wiped away birthright citizenship, which means any person that is born on the American soil was given citizenship, and now that's gone away. And one of the things that I found really weird, ironically, it was like 2017, 2018. It was towards the beginning of my law school career. I wanted to take immigration law because one of the things everybody was hating on Trump for was immigration.
Right.
And I wanted to get an understanding of the law. Like, you could tell everybody's trying to be a legal expert of a very complicated,
Hey, it's a good use of education.
Right?
See something, like, take an interest in it. Why not?
There is a whole system of homes in Maine that Russians populate with pregnant women. They literally just flood them
In Maine? In this
Maine.
country?
They flood them through Canada, get them in these like halfway house type things where it's just like they can't leave because they're not citizens. So they're literally just pregnant women trapped in these homes just so they could have a baby in America. And then when the lady gets caught, she gets deported. No, she leaves the baby with someone and she goes home, gets her cash. Now they got a mole living in America. Living in America.
Sleeper
and a
cell.
citizen. He can vote too.
He's a sleeper cell agent.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good agent.
I didn't know about any of this, and I'm now so on board with this part.
That's what I mean. Like, they take it as like, he doesn't like that, coyotes are coming through Mexico and dropping babies and yeah,
you're right.
That's not cool either. But let me tell you what's going on in Maine. And it's white people. So that should really piss you off. And they're like, I didn't know about that.
They're like,
so here's the thing. I felt torn at first because it's one of those like everybody that's American, everybody that gets here, you're born here, you should be American. It's not you're born here and it's like, yeah, but your daddy doesn't have the papers. But at the same time, it's like, but now they're weaponizing it against us.
I was going to say, I have a good rebuttal for what you're going. Because, like, there's a part of me that does, like, agree with it, right? My ancestors in this country stretches no more than 100 years. And I'm just thinking, I was like, the Democrats have abused this power to the nth degree to where this is the only way for the Republican side to push back against it.
Right.
Because I couldn't see this passing or even getting to the Supreme Court level beforehand. It would have to be an executive power done.
Right.
And it's too bad. Like, it's too bad, honestly. Like, because it really does. I wouldn't say tarnish the idea of like the American dream, but it definitely like pushes back against that idea of like you can make it in America and, like you said, move it to America. But it's like, we know what you're doing. Like, just that main story alone is like, why are they doing that here?
Why are we debating this thing?
Right.
Like, why are we still talking about it? It's
Right.
like, to me, the story was a trump card. It was like, wait, they built a whole mechanism for this?
Yeah.
There it goes. It came and it goes. So
Literally.
Mm.
Pause. Whoa.
We're talking about the mothers.
A lot of words.
They came and they gone, left the baby.
A lot of words.
Here's the thing. I liked your point. I have a lineage that doesn't span longer than 100 years. I can resonate with the people that have and would benefit from these types of policies. However, we as a country are in a different place 100 years later, 200 years later, where we needed workers, we needed voters, we needed citizens.
We were still populating this country.
Exactly.
We were still
now
populating.
we're populated. And what do we have as kind of the nozzle to control the valve? To control the pace at which people come in. It's like, okay.
It was open. It was the floodgates.
Floodgates. But the valve is legal immigration.
Mm-hmm.
We determine how many we take a year, 2 million a year. We determine the standards at which they need to meet to be vetted and picked. And
it's a fair system.
Of course, we get way more than 2 million that want to come in, but we need to finally swallow the difficult and uncomfortable reality that is we don't have the space we did when mom could just spit a baby out 150 years ago and that baby's a citizen.
Right.
We don't need citizens.
We were still conquering the West.
Exactly.
Like there's nothing
Especially
to conquer
when
here anymore.
now, again, these type of the loosey-goosey sleeve of wizard sized loose policies
There we go.
have
Work your
left
way through it.
Yeah. Sleeve of wizard. What I appreciate is it's now you want to be comfortable. You want to have empathy. You want to let people, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Now a giant group of terrorists have used your loosey-goosey sleeve to sneak in all the terrorists and set California on fire.
Well, it's like
So tighten that freaking sleeve, I guess.
oh, it's kind of like how I've always viewed like for instance, like the way people view like the police, right? It's like I'd say 90% are good police, but all it takes is the 10% to ruin it for everyone else.
Bingo.
You know,
You want to hear a sweet theory that I kind of thought out, and my dad was like, even like, I did some thinking, and I'm thinking those stages of like, the angry dreidel lady that runs Mexico. Okay, she's gonna get humbled real quick because when we lock that border down, lock tight, no longer a sieve, it's solid.
Yeah.
Now, all of the Guatemalan and South American gang members that are coming from a communist country that can't feed themselves and are coming to cause terror,
terror.
They will get stuck at that wall. And then she's going to go, you got to let them through. They're getting stuck in my town. And then I'm going to look back at her and go, dreidel lady, I guess it's about time you spend money and effort in protecting your southern border. Just like Canada looking at us like, you got a problem down there, huh? Can't get through our wall. Now we're going to look at Mexico and go like, got a problem down there, huh? Can't get through our wall. And so hopefully they see the writing on the wall. And I guess the real solve is they now need to protect their borders. And now we will have to worry about a significant less stream of starving gang people coming through to our border because they have to get through another border first.
It's going to be really ironic too when they go through the Gulf of America.
They ain't getting through.
No.
Because we're going to drill, baby, drill.
There's
going to be a lot of people watching.
I saw a hysterical tweet yesterday when they were like, Trump's like doing the illegal immigration part. And they're like, someone tweeted out, they're like, and now we have a view of the southern border. It's the D-Day scene from Saving Private Ryan. I got a good kick out of that. I got a good laugh during the game.
I'm glad.
Thanks. It's nothing like that.
I was about to say,
it's not like that.
It won't be either.
No, it won't.
It'll be Mexico's problem.
No,
it'll be. Guess
like
you're stuck with the bread
not
you
only
baked.
just that, but it's like he closed the border right after yesterday, and he also like designated the cartel as like a terrorist organization. You know
Love that.
Yeah, like honestly, it's like good. Like this is like we have been pushed to this reasoning. We used to not care for birthright citizenship. We used to actually encourage it. And it's the other side has pushed us to this degree to where we are like, stop.
How about this?
And we're considered unpopular for wanting that.
Yes.
Like we're considered like evil and like tarnished people for wanting to just be like, no, like the reasons we are coming here. Like, again, there are tons of families that want to come here for legitimate reasons. And like, I want them to have that ability. But when push comes to shove, it's like, I care about our people more first and foremost. Like, and I don't feel bad about that. And I'm tired of people pushing at it to like guilt you into feeling bad about it. Cause it's like, no, like I understand like we are in a city in Ohio and we're not near the border, but it's like, how many times have you heard, like, for instance, I didn't even know about the thing in Maine. That's in the north. They're coming down from the north.
Yep.
Let alone what's coming up from the south.
Oh, no, Canada's you can go down. Oh, you can go down anytime. We just don't let them up.
You know, like look at Minnesota. Like the diversity there is like so like these people are. This isn't like from their home,
right?
This is nothing like their homeland, but they're all here now. Where did they come from? Unvetted? Nobody's watching them?
Hell no.
It's open?
I just love at the end of the weekend at Bernie's presidency, we look at Xi Jinping and we go, hey, buddy, quit with the fentanyl. You're killing us. You're just pumping the Mexico border full of fentanyl. And he goes, maybe you guys should stop taking it. Oh? So one, there's this just blatant acknowledgement of like, oh yeah, cold warfare, we're poisoning your asses. But you shouldn't be taking the poison. It's a good taste, ain't it? Fun high. Take more. And we're just like, wait, what? But keep the border open. Let them have kids here.
This feels like such a common sense thing that should have been had years ago. And just because of the last 4 years, it just being allowed to run rampant.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, why not?
My question is, at what time period, and maybe it's never, maybe this is the proper legal analysis. This is all satire and comedy. At what point does the charge of assault evaporate and I get to backhand all of the people that cried about kids in cages? There are kids in cages. Then they get their president. Them bitches still in cages. We made them less comfortable. Trump comes in. I'm going to make the cages a bit more comfortable. They're still in cages. It's almost like.
I have an answer for that. Anything that happened after March 1st, 2014, it's okay. It's just okay.
Dude, it blows my mind.
I love though that he's like, I'm buying this real estate. I'm making my own facilities and they're going to be nice. And I don't want to hear a word out of you, AOC. I don't want to hear a word.
I'm going to make it nicer than your New York apartment, baby.
And like, you want to know what's great is you're going to see, again, this is satirical. This is comedy. This is all just jokes. I would love for her to do another tell-all video, but like instead she's at one of those resorts in like a robe and like silk slippers and like going around like they're in cages. That would be so funny. Honestly, I'd look at her and be like, she's kind of winning me over.
Dude, we are living in Wonderland. This is a fever dream.
It really is, doesn't it? Like it just feels like yesterday felt like the most normalcy shit. Other than Elon's, blurb.
I did appreciate how half the room was celebrating a birthday and the other half was celebrating a funeral. It was just like
It wasn't even half the room. It was just like the corner right next to him.
Yeah, because the people behind them, Dana White, grinning ear to ear.
Yeah.
Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Why is this man behind us? He is not amongst.
He is a pleb.
Why is this plebe behind us?
This billionaire is a pleb because he's not in the club. He didn't sacrifice.
Did he sacrifice a effigy at the owl? No, I was at that meeting. He must have missed it.
It was fascinating to watch. It was just amazing. And then knowing, again, back to the topic, it's like, it's such a controversial thing. Like this is, and again, like 100 years ago, it was like, this was an encouraged thing because we were populating this country and we needed workers. And the people that want to come in, like I said, 90% of them want to be workers. They want to start a family and a life here.
Small portion of them want to light up LA.
All it took was the 10%. And it's just like, we got to do something. And the people that said, we got to do something, they're like, you're a piece of shit.
Until you ship them to Martha's Vineyard. And they're like, well, wait. Let them be a piece of shit in your neighborhood.
Dude, I wish that was the executive order.
Yes. They all got to go to Martha's Vineyard.
In big black marker. You can't miss it.
I'd live for that, dude.
That's all it took for them to be like, hey, this ain't cool.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Really? Now it's not as just jokes?
Yeah, just jokes.
It's too bad. It's too bad. And you know what? At some point, I hope we are able and allowed to allow birthright citizenship again. But right now in the current political climate of this country, I just don't see it feasible.
all of the land is accounted for.
All the land's accounted
We-
for.
I don't think it ever comes back because truthfully, we'd love to be that welcoming. The demand exceeds
Right.
what we could provide to such a degree that it's an impossibility.
Yeah.
And at some point, we'll probably reevaluate the
I'm fine with reevaluating. I'm not saying like it should be like brought back in like 4 years or whatever, but it's like to have the ability to have that discussion is important because the values that this country was founded on. The problem is the other side completely abused it in such a way to where it tarnished the legacy of what it is.
totally.
You know, and like if I feel bad for the actual individuals who did come into this country illegally, but like did it on the want of bettering their lives, finding a job, being a solid participant in this country, and having their children born here, not because for any political standing, just the child happened to be born here, and then that child grows and becomes a working taxpayer in this country. It sucks for them that we had to take that away, but it's like if you don't understand why we did it, what are you looking at? Like, what are you missing here?
Well, and the problem is you'd love to have a dialogue with them. Like, I think you're clearly missing something. You think you have the world figured out. Can we have a conversation? And the sad part is there's 50% of the country, an entire political faction that lives in ignorance going, la, 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 la. And it's like, wait. I want to explain to you why I believe this and why I also think you are wrong. Facebook, Zucky, turn them off. And it's like, you have to censor and turn off because you have completely internalized bad ideas.
Right.
And I have no ability to have a healthy dialogue with you. So I can't even breach the subject for you to learn maybe why or grow to change maybe your position.
Like unfortunately, like I said, like I really feel like all it took was a bad 10% to ruin it for all of them.
Yes.
Ruin it for all of them. And I feel bad for the 90%. But at the end of the day, it's like I want the best interests for this country. Like simply, like the average American citizen, your everyday 9-to-5 person, you, Silent, Doug, the viewers of this podcast. Like, and it's such, I guess, idiocracy that it becomes such a, like, you cannot have a conversation like this with the other side. And like they just hit you with the trigger words. You're racist, you're homophobic, you're Zionist.
Look at
you're
Elon.
not-
Look at him. Look what he did.
Yeah.
He's not giving his heart out to the crowd. That's a Nazi.
You know, and it's just like so like I don't know. And it's like especially after the last 4 years, like they can't objectively look at themselves and be like, we lost all 3 branches of government. We lost the electoral. We lost the popular vote, but they're all wrong. It's like, seriously, you just were in charge for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then just for it to be a complete sweep, and you can't understand why the average American would be like, no, we need to shut the borders. We need to get rid of this because we know that the other side, they just want the voters. They don't care about these people. They don't care about the well-being of them. Look at how they handle California. We'll give you $770. Sweet. My house burned down. All my possessions are gone. I got $770. That'll count for something. It's
Right.
ridiculous.
No, let me flip it to silent, and then I want to present a great immigration video that I hope you have possibly seen before, and you'll enjoy it for a second time. If not, this will totally sculpt and craft the way you look at immigration. But Silent, what are your thoughts on kind of this whole dialogue?
Yeah, I can see exactly why Trump would end birthright citizenship, even though it is technically against the Constitution, right? It is against, I think, the 14th Amendment, it is, or something like that. So
This guy, he's an American. He's been spending too much time with us.
Right. And yeah, I did
Read the fine print, man.
I did a little bit of fine print reading and
document?
research. And I mean, yeah, look, at the end of the day, like, I don't even think the courts are going to allow this to pass or happen because, like I said, it is such a violation of the Constitution.
Yeah, fair.
Therefore, I don't think it will happen. But if it does happen, I understand why Trump did it. And he has solid reasons. I think when I read the article this morning earlier, it was something like 400,000 people are born in the US every year with like having illegal parents or having parents that are not Americans. So that's like a lot of people, but at the same time, it's not really that much people compared to obviously the big population of the US, which is like 350 plus million. So this issue does affect a lot of people, but compared to the scale and how many people are in the US, it's like, 0.001% of people. So yeah, I don't think it's going to pass. I think the courts are going to reverse this executive order, like I said, due to the 14th Amendment. But I completely understand why Trump did it. And I can see the argument against birthright citizenship, because at the same time, if you think about it, if you legally immigrate to the US, right? There is a lot of things that you have to make sure that you like check a long list before you actually become an American, right? Like you have to get your green card. And once you get your green card, you have to be physically present in the US for like 5+ years. You have to write a test, right? You have to attend a ceremony. You have to there's a lot of steps basically. So it costs a lot of time and a lot of money. And I think to those people, it's very unfair that someone can literally just come to the country and give birth and now their kids are Americans versus you had to wait like 5 to 10 years, to become an American. So I can also see it from that perspective. I think a good middle ground is kind of like what Will said. If you are born in the US, but your parents are not Americans, then why not have some sort of system or mechanism to give these people a way to become citizens as well themselves? Maybe through some sort of expedited application.
I like that.
Yeah.
Or
totally.
Or a way to solidly prove that you want to stay in the US, you want to become an American, and you want to become like a positive contributing member to the society. Then at least that way, yes, your kid is instantly American, but what about you? Do you want to be American? Well, why don't you prove that to us? I could totally see a system like that working. And I think a lot more people would be much more appreciative of a system, even though, like I said, this doesn't really affect that many people, but it's enough people to where it's a few hundred, 200 to 300,000 people, right?
What's funny is the margins we're talking about, Silent, they're so small. This still, 1%, millions, multiple millions, right?
And they're voters, and for them, they just view them as voters.
I think
they don't
it was
view them as taxpaying, hardworking Americans here for a better opportunity and a better life. They're like, oh, these are voters,
more voters for us,
and Silent, going off what you said regarding if a child's born here, it gives you an opportunity for the parents. I'm pretty sure Trump mentioned that a year or two ago, during the campaign, he was open to the idea of that being a possibility. Because I am with Silent, I don't think the Supreme Court's going to allow this to pass, but I think it at least opens up the conversation for these 4 years to do something along that line. Because if you have a child born here and you're not illegal, I have no issue with you taking then the proper steps that since you have a child here to become a legal citizen. In fact, I think that's a great thing and a great opportunity.
Right.
100%. And think of how much that would discourage people to just stay in the US legally versus, now I have access to say an expedited application to where if I want to stay here, I can. That's an option for me now that I have an American kid,
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Doug?
I actually already forgot what I was going to say. It was literally something Will just said, and I was like, I want to comment on that.
He was like, I was going to talk.
No, but again, it's a lot of these executive orders, they don't pass, the Supreme Court, even if the Supreme Court is heavily favored, for the Republican side.
Go ahead and get it off of me though, Doug.
Well, here, I remembered what I was going to say.
Hey, attaboy, he's back.
We were talking about how I agree too. The Supreme Court's probably going to shoot this down because 14th Amendment is already in place as law. So that's going to be hard. Right now, though, Trump is rolling with some momentum. He has both houses of Congress, Republican controlled.
Kavanaugh drinks beer.
And he won a lot of these states that were thought to be blue. So maybe a constitutional amendment might be in order. Just throwing it out there.
Hey.
I mean, it's a possibility, but it's just at least with Trump doing this, though, it's promoting the conversations that we're having right now. Whereas the last 4 years with the prior administration, even if we just were having these conversations, they'd come after us and do that. I can't hear you, or they'd come at you and be like, you are a threat to these people. And it's no, I'm just trying to promote it to make it one, Like
Yeah.
silence position, like easier for them to do so. And two, like we know what you're doing. Like we understand, like you say, like, oh, it's better for them, but really it's better for you. You just want the voters. You don't care how well off these people are. You don't care about the well-being of them and like what their opportunities are here. And like for the 10% that are ruining it for us, for them, I mean, you're promoting it. You're acting like, oh, that's not happening. They're not taking over apartments in Colorado.
Right.
That's not happening.
Yeah,
what are you talking
no.
about?
There was never a Chaz zone.
Exactly. Like, it's just like, so it's a ridiculous, like the idea of like, sure, it probably won't pass. That's fine. At least conversations are being had, because for the last 4 years, it was like taboo to even do this.
I love that point. And, you know, with the whole conversation here, circling the drain of, you know, silent, Will, Doug, not necessarily thinking it's going to pass. I was sitting here thinking to myself, how often does that happen? How many executive orders have truly been challenged, and how successful are they? While many executive orders have been challenged on specific statutory and constitutional grounds, others have been subjected to the reasonableness review. In the early 20th century, the Supreme Court began to read the due process clause of the 5th and 14th Amendment to include a guarantee of substantive due process. This legal concept permitted courts to review both statutes and executive actions, limiting rights to life, liberty, or property to ensure that they were reasonable. Critics of the reasonableness review, many of them progressive reformers, argued that the practice was anti-democratic because it substituted the judgment of courts for that of elected officials. I kind of agree with that. Moreover, many believed that the courts applied reasonableness review too aggressively. That I very much agree with, in particular where economic regulation was concerned. So executive orders have most frequently come before the federal courts in the context of attempts to invalidate them or halt their enforcement, them being direct conflicts with liberty, life, and pursuit of happiness. Some cases, however, have been brought to enforce rights allegedly created by an executive order. One especially common example, typically occurring in the 1960s, was a suit in which one private party sued another for damages arising from the defendant's violation of an order forbidding employment discrimination. Sounds familiar to my life. Courts have often refused to hear such cases, particularly when the order was issued under the president's inherent constitutional powers. That being said, oftentimes this more has to do with financial concern. That's when the court gets involved, and less when it has to do with social concern. So I hope they continue that pursuit, especially with a highly conservative Supreme Court. However, like they said, the trend with the Supreme Court has been to more aggressively apply the reasonableness standard. So it will be interesting to see where that comes out. Now, with our entire dialogue here circling the concept of immigration, I sound crass as a child coming from two parents, both families of immigrants.
Right. Same here.
And so I want to emphasize, I can truly appreciate and respect the value that brings people and why people choose to live that life, or the value in preserving that life for people. But that same consideration needs to come under the guise of our social contract, a consideration to the state and preserving its welfare. And while you may be coming from a place of good intention, that good intention may have severe negative consequences. If you ever want to share this with anybody, if you just search Google, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, you just search immigration marble example, you can share this with anybody. This is presented by Roy Beck. It is his presentation on world poverty, immigration, and gumballs. And it is gumballs, but I always, anytime I need it, immigration, marble example. Seriously pay attention to this, Will, because I guarantee you haven't seen this. I'm telling you, this will craft your entire concept and internalization of immigration moving forward.
Some people say that mass immigration into the United States can help reduce world poverty. Is that true? Well, no, it's not. And let me show you why. This gumball represents the 1 million legal immigrants that the United States has taken every year on average since 1990. Now, who in the world deserves our humanitarian compassion? All told, the World Bank says there are 3 billion people in the world who are desperately poor, making less than $2 a day. That's 3,000 gumballs. And every year, we take 1 million and suggest that we've somehow made a humanitarian difference. Immigration can never be an effective or significant way to deal with the suffering people of the world. The only place that 99.9% of these people can be helped is where they live. Let's help them there.
Because the
Crazy.
reality is, how many gumballs would we need to take on an annual basis to truly have an impact on the 95% of suffering in the world? You'd need to take in 60% of that, therefore suffocating and killing yourself in the process, therefore eliminating any opportunity to the other 90% to ever get out of the hellhole they're currently living in. So the reality, the takeaway, as he states here at the end, and this is a very condensed version of it. I implore you to watch it in its totality because its presentation is beautiful. Look at this giant pile of gumballs. We are able to take one a year, and we convince ourselves that that one a year is in any way positively impacting the suffering of the world. And then you realize where your efforts need to be focused. It actually brings about a little bit of appreciation for the chocolate man that brings you Feastables, because at least he's doing more than our American government is doing with immigration. Go cure the blind where they're at. Go get food where the people are at. Build an infrastructure and a civilization where they're at, because you're never going to be able to save them all. But you could. You could give them the tools and the infrastructure to save themselves.
Well, again, I think that's why like a lot of the people on the other side hate Trump, because Trump very much is like, he's a nationalist at heart, like truthfully, like he's very much for like this country, these people, and like the sovereignty of like us before others. That's why he gets out of all these like agreements we've been in, like in like these foreign agreements, like the Paris Agreement, like close the borders, you know, bring back, you know, frack again, you know, start doing all of this, because like he's probably seen like plenty of like presentations like that where it's gotten to a point to be like, why are we so focused on like the foreign affairs rather than our own affairs? You know,
Right?
bring prosperity back to us rather than present it to others. You know, we can only do so much. You know,
Right.
and like it's expected. Like, why is it so expected of this country to do so much more than necessary?
Well, and again, we're talking about a tribe of 350 million people balanced with we got about 7.5 billion human beings. 350 of the tribe of 350 million is responsible for the welfare of the other 7.2 billion
Mm-hmm.
in the wake of China being 1.5 billion, India being 1.2 billion, Russia being close, well exceeding ours. At some point, we got to go, how about you guys fix yours? How about you fix us? Have you seen Detroit? Still can't get clean water.
Hell, look at North Carolina.
You've got California crying for help when Maui's like, whoa, hey, you don't get to help them first. And North Carolina's like, what about us?
Well, it's always been one of those things too. It's like whenever like there's been a natural disaster in this country, it's like, where are these other foreign nations bringing us aid?
Yeah, they always need us.
Has that ever happened? Where I
No. We pay for their gender study courses in Pakistan, but when the going gets tough in America, Pakistan goes, sort it out, champ.
You know, it's so bitter. It's like it's created such a cynical view for me, because it's like, why? No wonder like these foreign countries don't have an army, because they just expect our army to come in and handle it.
Yes. Right. And again, this all circles for me, the concept of the social contract, which is, for anybody that doesn't know, the philosophical doctrine that we all in a society, in a tribe, signed without physically putting pen to paper. Our presence in this community is our acknowledgement, our signature to the social contract, which is I pay some of my liberties, some of my rights for the safety and sanctity that the society provides me. So when we look at immigration from Mexico, and I've made this argument before, I could care less that my American neighbor is Mexican. That I could care. All I care about is that chap paid the same taxes I did. So then when we do get universal health care, or Daddy Biden does give everybody a COVID check for $8,000, at least you're getting the check, I'm getting the check, and I know deep down we both paid into that same system.
Right.
Where people get cynical, where the system begins to unravel, is when you're operating off of the backs of mice in the hamster wheel, or hamsters in the hamster wheel, and they start to realize that the energy, the fruits of that wheel is also feeding the folks that aren't on a wheel. Then I'm going to stop running on the wheel. And then guess what? You've got nothing.
And the people who aren't running on the wheel in the last 4 years has increased exponentially.
Exponentially.
You know?
Yeah, it does not help that you've got a homeless American who can vote, but he's homeless. But I'm a citizen. He's cold. It doesn't help that guy's outside looking at a Haitian guy who's just killing ducks in the middle of Central Park, who gets to go home to a 5-star hotel, an American given debit card, and they just get to frolic through town. And he's like, wait, and I got a box?
I am so glad it went the way it did now, because like
Could you
I like
imagine?
mentally, like, what is it called? Like when you have like trauma from a kid and you're like, I just put that in the box.
Yes.
I did
Buried
that.
it. You
Yeah, just buried that, and it just happened. I'm like, no, it didn't,
Yeah.
because I don't want to think about it. And it's like, it's on the news every day. It's on my TikTok.
It's on my
And
TikTok.
I'm like, that's great. It's so, like, now that's why I look at this. I almost said pardon. It's not a pardon. I almost looked at this executive order, and I'm like, good. I never thought I'd say that,
Yeah.
but I'm like, good.
Yeah. What's funny is there's a lot of people who are upset and excited that have never thought about birthright citizenship.
Right.
So again, I guess my point, and I'll flip it to silence so we can get to wrapping thoughts. But my point's always and is going to be this: everybody wants a political opinion. Nobody wants to do the political homework. So clowns on both sides, people that are excited and people that are disappointed, have never read, learned, or thought about birthright citizenship. And yet when the well-read patriot next to them says, here's my opinion, they go, shut up, because I don't like it.
It's like,
I don't like it.
it's like when people say like, oh, world hunger, like all these billionaires have it. Like, why don't they just do it? And it's like, just show them that video of like immigration and be like, look at all these gumballs. We gotta feed all these gumballs, and we only take in one a year. But sure, yeah, it sounds great on paper.
But
war is bad.
I really
get
wish
it.
we could do the full video, because he goes, even if you made it 2 gumballs a year, let's make it 3. It's like that. Every time you exponentially grow the gumballs, you are straining your system exponentially. Couldn't make less of an impact on the big pile.
That's what I mean.
Let's make it 5. Ding, 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 ding.
It's like that's why
Still a problem.
that's why when you hear people just have like these very like vague like political like opinions, like, oh, war is bad. Like, genius. Wow, what made you think of that one? You know, sometimes World War II, sometimes it happens, sometimes it needs to, other times it doesn't. Vietnam, you know, world hunger, let's just end it. Elon Musk, just use all your money and end it. Like, oh yeah, why don't you use your money and end it?
Right.
No. Oh, shocker.
Right.
He said the same thing.
Well, it's because he's too busy giving his heart to the world.
Stop.
Giving his heart to the world. All right, Silent, what are your wrapping thoughts on this whole thing so we can finally get to our game of the day?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think this is gonna pass. The Supreme Court's probably gonna stop it. But if it does, I would be very surprised if it does. At the same time, if it does pass, like I said, I would personally like to see some sort of pathway to where if there are, I just looked up the stats. According to Pew Research, in 2022, there's 1.2 million Americans born having like parents that have no status.
A whole gumball.
So yeah, that's quite a lot. It's like a big city, you know?
Let's do 2.
And I think at the end of the day, as long as, like you guys said, this gets people thinking, it gets people like discussing this, it's a good thing. Because essentially what this points to is that the immigration system in the US is flawed and it needs repair.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be way more simpler pathways that discourage illegal immigration, because the whole reason why illegal immigration is even happening, it's because the legal immigration is very costly, very long, and most of the times you just waste your time and money and you get nowhere for a lot of people.
Sometimes they don't even get accepted too.
Exactly.
Right?
And sometimes they don't even get accepted. Hence why a lot of people were just like, all right, well, that's the case. Then I'm just going to walk in, you know? Like, there is a system, obviously, that's happening here that is encouraging the illegal part of the system to thrive. Otherwise, it won't be happening and it won't be thriving. Because think about it this way. If there's easier paths and legal mechanisms that have clear instructions as to what you need to do as an immigrant in order to meet the requirements to become a U.S. citizen, and those requirements are much more realistic and much more favorable towards shifting people that want to positively contribute to the USA and making them actual citizens, then a lot of this won't even be a problem. And it won't even be a discussion to where we have to, amend the Constitution or change it or fix it. Because at the end of the day, what this highlights is that this is a flawed system that needs repair ASAP. Otherwise, people are just going to keep exploiting it and just walking in, you know?
Right.
Or in this case, hey, honey, like, cross the border, you're pregnant, like, come give birth to our son. He'll be American, you know? And as I said before, I understand why Trump did this and why he signed this executive order, because from his perspective, he would rather see a few million people less become non-Americans and have him fixed. Because as you guys said, he did hint to that. He did hint that he is open to having some sort of better mechanism to make these people Americans and make them become citizens. Obviously, this is the first step of it, and only time will tell whether the Constitution will be amended or whether there'll be some sort of reform or some sort of new law that just makes it easier for those people to actually become Americans, just like how their kids are instantaneously Americans when they're born.
Right. And my major takeaway from Silent's point is, there's good arguments on both sides. However, we're kind of disarmed by what the outcome really is.
Yeah.
We kind of got to sit back and wait to see how it's litigated and how it all boils down. If I were to present my position in a complete way, the reason there's a balance to this, and I leave you to kind of wrestle with and weigh these considerations so you could come to your own personal conclusion. But arguments for keeping birthright citizenship: it promotes equality and human rights, preventing statelessness, it supports family unity, encourages social cohesion and national identity, and it also brings about economic contribution. All of those are a lot less political and a lot more empathetic. That the whole position more rides on your feelings than it did 100 years ago.
It's a very good moral reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, empathetic because morals don't always have to balance feelings. Sometimes, the more difficult decision can be the more moral decision, simply because it's what is necessary.
It was a healthy mix of like your reasoning right there was like a healthy mix of like the American dream and like the prosperity of this country.
Right. That being balanced with the reasons of why you should eliminate birthright citizenship. It reduces incentives for anchor babies, protecting national sovereignty and immigration laws. It prevents abuse of the system, potential cost to taxpayers, and finally encourages illegal immigration and China migration. So, or chain. That was Freud. Chain migration. Chain migration.
I like that point.
I can appreciate the roundtable's position that there's a likelihood that it probably won't pass, but I'm going to sit by and hope that it does. One, because I have totally internalized that gumball theory where it's just we're not saving the world with our immigration system. So we need to, one, prioritize our sovereignty, and two, to aid the 90% of suffering in the world, we need to go and help them where they're at. That's how you'll actually have an impact with them. I flip it to you for your wrapping thoughts.
I like your last point there, like that we're not here to save the world. But what I do like is the idea of this conversation being had, especially at this round table, to be sure maybe we can't save the world, but we could set a good example for like these other countries and like have this like reform,
Great point.
That's kind of why I liked it when Silent brought it up, and like I said, like I know, like again, people don't like Trump, and I understand why they don't like Trump. But like one thing I've always really liked about Trump is he is not afraid to bring up the idea of a reform or a change or like an idea for something new and have that conversation be had. And I think this, sure, it's a strong arm argument being an executive order, and it's probably going to get shut down. I know you are hopeful for it, and I'm on the same boat. I do as well. But I think it being strong arm argument at least is going to give out the opportunity to have a conversation for reform, for change, to give these people that actually want to be here a more beneficial and an easier opportunity to do so legally, rather than
Facts.
pushing us as a voter base to vote against them to be able to do this. Because I feel bad. I do feel bad, but I understand. But like, I still feel vindicated in my vote and why I did it. And I don't want to go back and be like, oh, we don't like you. No, it's simply like, no, there are things that need to be changed, and I want the change to happen.
Right.
But sometimes this has to happen first.
I love that. I love that. Doug, wrapping thought.
So I never really thought much about citizenship because we were born with it. So now that we're actually thinking about it, like talking about it, I gotta say, I'm thinking in my head, Starship Troopers, citizen or service guarantees
God,
citizenship. And now it's like that show's hidden
Doug's
different.
never served in his life, and he's like, put him on the front
No, 'cause
line.
now it's hidden different. Like, because in that movie, in order to be a citizen, you had to serve. And it's like, I never really thought about being
gotta
a
do that in
citizen
Israel.
because I was born.
Just
a citizen.
imagine being like, you're born, and at like 7, 8, you're like, you're gonna have to serve
if you want to be a
Yeah,
citizen.
you got 11
No,
years.
seriously, isn't that like the IDF? Like you have to serve like 2 years.
Well,
like, for
they
citizenship?
A
definitely
lot
do
of
that.
countries have.
A lot of
You know?
countries, yeah, but so again, as much as I can have a fun time wrestling with that concept, you're never gonna leave it to loom over a child's head that like when you turn 18, state owns you.
Well, again, this country isn't nationalistic and globalistic enough to do so, right? Like it's very much like we have an armed forces, like a terrific armed forces, where you don't need to do that. But Doug, I do find that funny.
Oh, right.
I do find that entertaining.
That show is hidden differently that scene is hidden differently in my head right now. But one more thing too, only country in the world that has a citizenship tax. If you want to remain a citizen, you have to pay taxes even if you live overseas. Only country in the world that has a citizenship tax.
Well, the way we approach the world and its global arena, that is definitely how it should play.
Yeah, man. Have you seen the money we're sending Ukraine? Come on, man. Pay for your
Wait, not even that. You don't get to like trot through Morocco with the blind safety of being an American citizen without paying for that shit. I'm just saying.
I never
They're
thought of-
afraid to mess with American citizens. That comes with a cost.
Yeah, what's it called when you can do something illegal in another country and like bring it back?
Are you talking about Otto Warmir and his North Korean
Are you-
flag? Because I was gonna say that didn't work.
No. That's a specific.
are you talking about
example.
immunity?
He tried taking it back. He did not come back.
No, what's it called when you like you get like a
Capture the flag?
no, like you can arrest like someone in a different country for
Extradite?
extradite. That's the word I'm looking for. That was the
Well, there are extraditions back and forth with us to other countries. It just depends on our relationship with them.
I know. I just couldn't
I'm
think of the word.
saying like the gang members of like,
the cartel.
but you could be anywhere. Like if you're in Jordan, they're going to be much more afraid to mess with you if you're clearly an American. Just like I don't know. I was going to say, the two groups of people that have been fighting for 2,000 years. It's not even worth saying it. They had an attack. It was when they finally attacked an American. It was like, oh, now it's got real.
Oh, now it's a problem.
Now it's a problem.
an issue.
Yeah. So, okay. Love the thoughts, Doug. Watch more Star Trek.
No, Starship Troopers.
I
knew he was
messed
gonna-
that up.
I knew he was going to correct you.
Thank God. Thank God. You know what, though?
It's a great movie.
It is a good
And
movie.
it's a fantastic transition.
Over your
because
oven.
part
Classic,
of the
man.
consideration we're wrestling with in today's episode is the people's voice versus Big Brother's voice. And Rotten Tomatoes has become the Big Brother of the movie industry. They tell us what gets, the Caesar thumbs up or the thumbs down. And oftentimes, actually more often than not, the public's opinion comes nowhere near the mark of Rotten Tomatoes. And I've created this game here to try to emphasize, one, how the authority on the matter could not be a more corporate shill that is lost from the actual will of the people. But then also, again, human hive, as a person that's as an advocate for the human hive and the will of the mass, I will also say that their dictated evaluation also totally misses reality, that reality created by the audience's opinion, where I think the audience's opinion is closer to what is truly a good film or a bad film. So how are we going to play this game? Doug, Will, and Silent Destroyer are going to be competing against each other. I have 12 films here. If we need a tiebreaker, we'll get to one. But we're going to go through each film. I have the Rotten Tomatoes percent, their percentage, good or bad movie. They rate their movie, their rating. They give it in a percentage based on 100%.
Right. Yeah.
So how the Rotten Tomatoes percentage rating compares to the popcorn meter, which is the user.
So you're talking about like a higher, lower guess?
Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring up a film, and I want you to tell me, is the Rotten Tomatoes and users score within a 10% margin of each other?
Okay.
Or are they are they outside of that 10% margin?
I almost want to say 10's too much, but like realistically, it's not. I was gonna
That's
say
the
5,
sad
but,
part of
yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes evaluation.
I was gonna say, but like, yeah.
In fact, I almost wanted to make it larger to try to craft the game in a more competitive way.
No, 10's a good number.
10 is actually perfect once you see the numbers. But I only say that because
I kind of got an idea.
It goes to show how much variability there is against the authority in movies.
Especially think of it too, like we haven't gotten to it, but like before like Rotten Tomatoes, like it was like Roger Ebert, like he was like the main voice of like movie criticism back like when you would actually buy a newspaper to read the movie reviews, and like it was only like on like a 5-star, like 5-star was the most, or 4-star, excuse me. So like a 4-star film would be like Star Wars, which again at least makes it now, instead of 100%, you're looking at 50% at 10% interval. Is Morbius one of the movies?
It's harder to miss. You will, even if your opinion, like you're coming from a Quentin Tarantino, like fantastical way of evaluating the film, there's so much less variability that you are more likely to align with the public's opinion than the grand rating scale that Rotten Tomatoes has chosen.
Okay.
But anyway, let's get to it, because I think that you'll see as the game develops. Be sure to jump into the comments and play along, because we want to see how well you can test the critic, because we are playing the game Critique the Critic. So starting with Will, we're going to you first. The first movie on the list here. I just want to have it so people can
I'm excited about
enjoy it with us. All right. So Fight Club.
That's not Fight Club.
Yeah, it is. Can you please tell me? It is.
I know,
See
like it
on
wasn't popped up immediately.
So, Fight Club.
Yeah. Do I guess like the number, or am I guessing like
I
if
want
it's
you
within...
to guess. Do you believe the tomato meter, which is the critics, is within 10% of the popcorn meter, which is the users? Or is this a film where they completely miss the mark?
No, I think this is within the vein.
You're saying within the 10% margin?
If I were to guess, the tomatoer is probably somewhere like around like 78%, and like the user review is like at 86 or something like that.
So, Fight Club is within IMDb's list of top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah, it's like number 8 or 9.
And the reason I say that is because it might explain where the popcorn meter levels out. The tomato meter, the critics, was at 81%.
That's close.
The users, the popcorn meter,
what is it, like 98%?
96%.
I was gonna say, all right. So I was out,
it was just barely outside of it. But again, you're looking at a 14% variability, and the variability can be much worse than that.
No, I'm glad to hear both were like fresh, because I know like in terms of Rotten Tomatoes, that's considered a fresh score.
Right. Yeah. All right, flipping to Doug. Now I'm looking at number 2. This one would have been good. See, but I'm glad you won't resonate with this one as much as Will. All right. This is going to be a tough one for Doug. The movie Strange Wilderness.
Oh,
I've actually never seen this.
Really? I thought you did.
I
Never
haven't
seen it.
seen this movie in a very
I
long
love
time.
this film so much.
I'm kind of glad you didn't give me this because I would have had no idea. I've never seen this
Oh,
movie.
now I'm for sure making you watch this movie.
No, I'm down to watch it.
This
It's
is a
just-
great
I've heard of it.
underdog movie.
I've never
It's
seen
got
it.
a rep as a dog shit movie.
That's what I've
The
heard.
People will
Like,
tell you, great movie.
yeah, like that's what I've heard. Like, I was like,
Yeah, this is a tough one. Because it's a Happy Madison. I personally have liked a lot of Happy Madison films.
shocker.
So is it within the 10%
I'm gonna go
margin?
though that it's probably outside. That they're outside the 10%.
Doug is the first to score a point. Rotten Tomatoes.
Maters.
Its critics gave it 2%.
Holy!
Where's the users?
It is
at?
not. It is not a
Users gave
2%.
it 35%. Still not great,
It's not good.
but it is not the worst.
It's such a.
Still not the Room in the user's eyes.
This is but like how much more money went into this?
Listen,
than
I
The
went
Room?
from IMDb's greatest to something I knew was a grab bag stinker that has a cult
A
fan
stink.
base.
Oh, cult following for sure.
And
It's like Grandma's Boy.
I
or
kind of get.
something
I'm
like
not a
that.
part of the cult, but I get it.
It's like Grandma's Boy.
It's almost like that's on this list too.
Is it really?
Nah. All right. Getting to number 3, Silent Destroyer. We're going to be testing you. Oh, I don't know. We're going to get a little idea of how well versed you are with films too. You
Why does that keep
familiar with the Lord of the Rings
Ooh.
and the Fellowship of the Ring?
happening? Yeah.
Yes, of course.
So easy. This is such an easy one.
I don't know. Silent. Is this within or outside the 10% margin?
I'm gonna say within.
Silent Destroyer locks down a point.
I was like, this is so easy.
Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Rotten Tomatoes gave a 92%. This is up there on a lot
No
of those
surprise.
greatest movies of all times.
Yeah.
This is a
And
good movie for reals. It's up
the,
there.
the users gave it a 95%.
It's
So
a
only a
great-
3% variability.
It's the first of the greatest trilogy, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like all 3 movies are like cinematic classics.
Original Star Wars trilogy.
No, it doesn't touch this.
Yeah, no,
Not even
actually,
close.
there is
Not
no
even
Star Wars
close.
movie that came
Mm-mm.
close to any of these
the
lists.
third film holds its still ties for the most Oscar wins in history, and it's a fantasy
Yeah.
movie. Its accolades are well earned, well deserved by all 3 films.
All right, Will, we're going to test you again here.
I cannot wait.
Maybe you could get some points on the board so you could try to catch up to Silent and Doug here.
Probably not.
All right, so our next film for consideration is going to be the movie Click. All right, can you tell me,
Ooh.
is Click within or outside of
It's
the
out.
10% margin?
It's out.
I have to agree with that guess.
You are correct.
It's such a more heartfelt movie for one of Adam Sandler's. Like
yeah.
Adam Sandler had a great string in the 90s. His most recent films are absolute horrific trash. But this is one of the last like good ones. It actually like
This is
tugged
a
at your
real
heart.
good family
It,
film.
it really tugged at your heartstrings. when
Hey,
he's
Uncut
crushed.
Gems was pretty good.
His
I gotta
dad-
say.
So sad.
The dad
so-
made me cry, and I was
it's-
like 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so sad. But like the most recent Adam Sandler ones are just a tax write-off cash money grab for like him and his like 6 drug addicted friends. Like
Yes.
that's all it is.
Except Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems was
Uncut
was
Gems.
amazing.
But that's not one of
Uncut
his. What I'm saying is like the Happy
Yeah.
Madison movies. Like that's an exception. Like that's
True,
like
Right,
true,
that's
true.
They
A24.
actually-
That's totally
they actually
different.
like he knew,
True.
oh, I might win an Oscar for this. And he was smart. He knew when to dial it in, but then he went into Jack and Jill too, and we were like, there he is.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
our man.
That was on
Yeah.
the list of worst films of all time.
'Cause
I
it's
almost
awful.
put it on this.
Let's put him in a fat suit, and he's a girl.
So the tomato meter, the critics gave it a 34%, where the popcorn meter, the users gave it a 66%.
Yeah, I was like, most
Mm.
people like this. Like it's heartfelt enough.
Right. All right. So Doug, this gives you an opportunity to pull ahead. You know, Will had a good chance here to tie it up, and he caught up to you in Silent. So looking at number 5 here, and this is not a sequel, but a part 2.
Oh, we had
This
a
is so easy.
vigorous
You just gave
conversation.
him a layup.
So-
Ooh.
Douglas H. Salike, can you tell me, is this within or outside of
This is
the margin
actually
of
hard
error.
in my opinion because I have a torn view about
I know.
this sequel.
So is it within the margin of error?
Oh, God.
Is it within that 10%?
It was an adequate sequel to an already perfect ending. So, this is tough. I'm gonna go that they're probably outside.
I love that you guessed that because it was within the margin of error. How did you miss that?
Because
Adequate sequel? Are you kidding
some
me?
people are pretty torn on these.
Yeah, some people. Yeah, we know who some
The
people
first,
are.
if
and they're
this was the
idiots.
first movie, it'd be easy as hell. But like a
This
lot of
was
people are
easier.
torn on the sequels.
So
They
just
weren't.
so you know, yeah, this apparently is the best of the Godfathers.
I
Apparently,
didn't think so.
It wasn't. It was very much. No, I mean like it was, but this wasn't like a hard one. This was a layup. He
yeah.
threw you the alley oop, and you just like shot a three. Like,
Oh well. Sometimes you got to go big or go home.
Tomato meter, the critics gave it a 96%, where the popcorn meter, the users gave it a 97%. That's the closest
that's
margin of
like
error.
the
we
closest
got.
within margin, and this dude was like, I don't know, it's a tough one. Like, are you kidding me?
I don't think you got your finger on the pulse here, Doug.
Oh, I was
Oh,
so
no.
convinced. I was like, you just
I'm
gave him one of his favorites.
torn. I'm so sad.
I was like, I thought you loved this.
Yeah, he
Nah.
doesn't. Let me tell you, he's not good
Wait,
at
so
it.
question: do you not like The Godfather Part 2, or like do you not like it as
one
much
was
as
the
first?
best, 2 was okay,
See, I
3
like 2
was
more.
awful.
What?
I like 2 more. I really like 2
no,
more.
1 was.
I think 1's perfect, but I
One
think
was
2 is, like,
amazing,
more perfect.
especially now rewatching The Godfather, then watching the making of The Godfather. That
the making of
TV
videos are really
series,
cool for those. Yeah.
that they did on Paramount Plus. Oh, it made me just love it more. I'm like, yeah, this first one was pretty awesome.
No, I think Godfather Part 2, like the duality between like the father and son story, like it's so good.
Oh,
it's
so
so
great.
good.
Oh yeah, such a good
That
story.
was such a no-brainer. Like that was a
Cinematic history.
no-brainer.
And Doug ain't got one.
Oh my god. I'm honestly
well,
shocked. I actually
I've
didn't
got
know.
1 point at least. So
Here's what I love about Doug, and that's why you should tune in on Sunday for the Sunday football review, because karma never forgets. Doug will be humbled by the fabric of this universe. He is a sour puss when the world is not going in his favor, and yet he's literally a giddy 5-year-old when he gets everything he wants. So please tune in to Doug's teary-eyed misery
At least
when
I
he
didn't go
chugs
4
an
weeks.
ice by himself, because the truth of the matter is, Doug will be a total dick when it comes to Family Feud, to any of these little games. But the second this is just a stupid game. I got 1 point. You become
I've still
like,
got
you
one.
are
It's a tie
the worst
game.
kid
It's a
to play
tie
a game
game
with in the
still.
neighborhood.
I just
It's
like Doug.
still
you-
a tie game though. It
Doug,
doesn't
you-
matter.
unreal.
And Doug, I'm just surprised you defended it so eloquently,
Yeah, I
like at the
know.
Browns game. Like you defended the first 2 felt like the whole sequel argument. You defended it so eloquently. It was like, yo, Doug, kudos.
It's
like you
only
love
an
this. And then you're like, it's
adequate
outside.
sequel.
Like
I
think it
started-
sucks. What?
I started off my whole thing with it's an adequate sequel to a perfect
Adequate
ending.
threw me. I was like, adequate. I think this one best
It's
picture.
adequate.
I was like, I'm pretty sure.
Adequate.
So did the first one.
Okay, going to Silent Destroyer.
I'm
This
just
is your
surprised.
chance to take the lead because Doug fumbled on the 2nd-yard line. Okay.
Mark Andrews it.
That poor guy.
I do feel bad for
He's
him.
literally not going to sleep.
I feel
for
bad
the
for
rest
him.
of
He's a
his
good
life.
player. Just a bad drop at the wrong time. Man.
And it wasn't his fault they lost. And save it for the Sunday
No,
football
well,
review.
it
Check us out on Sundays where we go live and talk football. But right now we're talking movies. And I need to test Silent. Silent, have you ever seen a great classic called Superbad?
Of course.
God.
All right, so you got to tell me, is Superbad within that 10% margin of error?
This is
I'm going to say it is.
Yeah.
My man knows what he's talking about because Superbad is
Really?
within 1% of itself.
Really? Is it? What
Rotten
is it?
Tomatoes gave it 88% and the people gave it 87%.
See, I was
So we underballed it versus the critics.
I was gonna say I wasn't sure if it was gonna be like 76 Rotten Tomatoes, 87 user. You know, I really thought it could be a trick one like that because I think this is a classic. Like this is a timeless classic comedy. No.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
this is going to be an all-time great. All right, Now,
Definitely.
Silent has pulled away with the lead, winning with 2 points. Doug and Will trailing behind with 1, so they have an opportunity to try to catch up and tie him. But, Will, I'm looking at you. Another great classic. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Pulp Fiction.
This is a tough one because like my dad
Ooh.
hates this movie.
What?
Really?
Yeah, he does not. He
Whoa.
hated it being like out of like, like it's a non-linear film. This isn't even one of my more favorite Tarantino movies. I do enjoy Pulp Fiction. I enjoy it for what it is more than like what it like the movie actually is. Like I enjoy like the filmmaking aspect of it. I'm going to say this is within the 10% margin because the people who love this movie absolutely love the shit out of it. And it is one of it might go down as Tarantino's best. So I'm going to say it's within the 10%. But if you say I'm wrong, like it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I got to tell you, Will, you've pulled away with a point, and you're trailing Silent strong.
What's the percentage, though? I am curious.
Rotten Tomato, the critics give it 92%, where the users give it 96%.
Really? The user was higher. I'm actually shocked.
Right?
I didn't
Right?
think so. I didn't think it'd be. I thought
Especially
it'd be like
that
lower.
high.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be that high because like it's not even my favorite. Like there's so
It's
many
a
more.
good movie.
Yeah.
Like it's
the non-linear.
What was
really
that
messes you
Tarantino
up.
movie you had us watch
Oh,
with in a
Four
hotel?
Rooms. 4 Rooms.
I put
Oh,
Pulp
yeah.
Fiction up there with 4 Rooms.
4
where it's
Rooms
like,
was awesome.
this is something where it's unique. It is a film. It is an experience.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the world of movies to exist without it.
Right.
Also, though, we have a below 8-degree no work day tomorrow, and I'm gonna play Fortnite and watch a movie. This isn't among the ones where it's like throw it on.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm running through my head. I'm like, I'd love to see The Mummy again. I've seen that a
Yeah,
trillion
right.
times. Like, there's movie. You know what? Speaking of movies, a good fun movie dialogue that I'd like to throw out to you that I was thinking about when I was working on my house this weekend. The sad part about the loss of cable, one little anecdote that'll be forever gone. You can't just go onto Netflix and it be like, today's picture is Shawshank Redemption.
Cool. Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, I haven't seen that in forever. And I missed the first 10 minutes, but I love this part. And you play it out. Like, oh man, like here's a movie. Men in Black is never a movie where I go, I'm picking Men in Black.
Right.
But Men in Black was that movie where I'd be flipping through channels and be like, oh shit, I haven't seen this. And I'd keep that shit on.
Yeah.
How many
It's
times?
still always on.
Yeah. How many times did you catch Independence Day when like
Yes.
right as Will Smith punches the alien?
Guess what? I've never seen Independence Day like a movie.
Yeah,
I've seen it
exactly.
only in that fashion.
Exactly. No, I agree. That's the thing for me with like Pulp Fiction. It's like I appreciate it more from like the idea of like the way it was made rather
Yes.
than like what it actually is. And you know, like Tarantino has a couple of movies like that. Like 4 Rooms is another one for it. So I thought you might get me with that one. I was just surprised. I can't believe
No,
the
I
user was higher.
just think Pulp Fiction is a movie you've got to at least see once. Like if someone's like you've never
100%
seen
agree.
it, you need to watch.
You
And
have
I
to
felt
see
the
it,
same way
yeah.
with 4 Rooms. Alex, you hadn't watched that.
Can,
You
can we
kinda were like-
agree? This is why the feet loving freak is going to go down in history as one of the greatest cinema minds of all time.
No, he really is a
because
genius when it comes to
quite
it.
literally, there is not a single Tarantino movie you can skip.
Yeah.
Like if you want to say you've truly experienced the palette of cinema, all the different colors, all the different feels,
Mhm.
you cannot exclaim that without watching all of them.
He's
and
up-
there's not a long list,
No.
but not even Kill Bill. I mean, a lady slicing arms off and just like water hose blood out of the
Yeah.
arms. It's like nothing more campy than that. However, it truly is a bone in the skeleton of cinema.
If you ever want a funny interview with him, look him up on like a morning show where you have like this big fat woman just going like, "Hey, man," and she's like going after him for like his like over the top violence, and he's just like, "Don't you think it's such a bad precedent for like all the kids out there?" He's like, "That's why it's in a movie, Jan." Like he is so freaking. He's like Elon Musk kooky. Like it's like you're talking to a guy who's not a normal person.
Yeah.
And like she's like,
But that's sometimes where brilliance comes from.
exactly. It's like you can see. It's like this is why he's so good at what he does because like it's like. He's like, if you're not smart enough to separate the movie from like reality, like you're an idiot.
All right. Well, this is one that has been flirted with and couldn't be more excited for. But Doug is not a very experienced, cultured man of the world. So I got to believe this classic great has never graced his eyeballs.
Oh, what is it?
However, let's bring to Doug.
Oh, Will, your
Grandma's
movie.
This is a tough one, man. Doug,
This
I'm gonna
is
be
a-
honest.
Oh my god!
I gotta
this
be
is-
honest, Doug. Like, you had an easy one last one. You missed the layup. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I don't know.
I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here and say it's Within.
Oh my God. It's like you're choosing to lose.
Oh well.
If I had to take a guess, especially based on the dialogue the last time we talked about Grandma's Boy, the answer was so clearly with Outside.
It was
I
like
love
this.
Grandma's
The
user's
whole
good boy.
industry is going to tell you bad movie. But any guy, any chill guy that has watched this movie goes, great movie.
It is a great movie.
No, dude, the Barbie doll in the bathroom after leaving the dude's bedroom that's a bed shaped like a car.
Yeah. Priceless.
I don't even need to say more. If you've seen the movie,
The user review is probably gonna be like in the 40s, but like the critic review is gonna be like 2%.
so Doug loses. It's way outside the margin of error, and it's because the critics of Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 15%,
That's
Where-
higher than I thought.
Wow.
whereas
That's
the
low.
People's Voice gave it an 85%.
Wow.
Of
Wow.
the best.
That's quite the difference.
movie
Wow.
is so
No,
I was not
wait, real
expecting
talk.
that.
Silent. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Oh, I said that's quite a difference. I was not expecting that.
I
Right?
didn't either.
Possible.
I didn't either.
Doug, have you seen Grandma's Boy?
Yeah, I fucking
Okay.
love it.
Hey, you're part of the 85, man.
That's why I want to.
One of us. One of us.
I love that. All right, Silent. Let's see if you could keep your lead and pull away. Number 9 here is going to be an interesting one because, you know, I think people have mixed feelings. It's a fabric of everyone's life, but not everybody's happy that it is. Silent, where do you come out on Forrest Gump?
I think this
Is it within or outside the margin of error, the 10% margin?
I'm gonna say outside.
Son of a gun.
Did he get it?
He got it.
Wow. What's the
Right?
percentage?
Will was over here. You guys couldn't see it. Will's like, it's inside.
I was like, it's got to be inside, man.
No.
What
it
was
isn't.
lower?
So,
Yeah.
and here's what's crazy. I didn't want to have all greats, but I needed to have the list balanced with what the industry considers greats. Forrest Gump was among the 5 that were picked as top 10 best movies of all time, which is weird that it makes that list. However, the critics, the tomato meter gives it a 75%,
It's still pretty high.
whereas the popcorn meter, the users give it a 95%.
This is like me with the
Yeah.
Fight Club. It's like it's
Yeah.
good, but like how good do the critics really like it, and how good did the public really?
I
like
gotta
it?
say, if you guys haven't watched movies that made us on Netflix, they do a Forrest Gump one, and it's so great. Like they talk about like how the studio just was so against this movie too, and everything, and that like Tom
Really?
Hanks and the director funded a lot of it out of pocket to get it.
I
filmed.
did know that. I did know Hanks put a lot of his own money into this movie.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, they put like a
This
million.
was like
Hey,
closer-
baby, like they say, invest in yourself.
This is like kind of like a semi-passion project of his.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Because again, talk about a pillar to our
And I'm pretty sure this was
society.
pre-Saving Private Ryan for him.
Oh yeah.
It was.
So I think this
yeah.
is like after
was,
like,
yeah.
in Seattle, pre-Saving Private Ryan. Like he was really starting to pop
I
off.
think he was coming off a Big.
This was definitely after Big. This
Yeah.
was a few years after Big, because Big was like his first big one.
Right.
Ironic, like coincidentally.
All right. So Silent has pulled away with 3 points. Will's riding his coattails with 2, and Doug is trailing behind with 1. So, Will, this is your opportunity to catch up to Silent and keep the competition thriving. Looking at number 10. That would have been great for Caddyshack. Wilbur,
Oh, that would have been really good.
Alien versus Predator.
Oh, this is so outside. It's not even funny.
Ooh.
So outside?
I do think it's so.
He's
outside,
guessing
yeah.
outside. You are right.
I was like, it's.
But it
definitely
isn't
outside.
so outside.
Really.
It barely misses it. It's literally 18%. Close.
Oh.
You know, it's just a little bit over that.
The user review is
sorry.
definitely higher than
Yes.
the critics.
Yes. So the tomato meter, the critics gave it a 21%, Whereas the users, the popcorn meter gave it a 39%.
You want to know who I took to see with me, with my dad, to see this movie?
Who?
Sam Ritchie.
Really?
He had to call his parents because it was rated R, that it was okay to go see this movie. We were like 8 or something like that.
See, my
Oh,
great
man.
life hack was grandma
Didn't care.
never internalized what those letters meant.
Yep,
R-
same here.
E.
X.
I was about to say unrated. I was like, oh no, it's good. No rating, good. Okay, grandma's boy, because you're grandma's boy. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, grandma.
Did you ever hear
Get
the
that.
Nick Swartzen like talking about that? And
Dude,
he's just
I
like,
was okay. Not to go back to grandma's boy,
Yeah.
but him in the podcast recently talking about how I didn't tell my grandma because I didn't want her to see it. Then she saw me in a trailer and was like, that's my grandkid. And it's about grandma's boy. I got to go see this. He gets a call from his mom. Grandma saw your movie. Who took her? No one took her. She did it on her own volition. Son of a...
No.
She left in the middle of the film.
Alien versus Predator. This is that right perfect amount of
perfect film.
No, I think it's
I'm sorry.
I think it's
It's
I think
all
it's
right.
like the perfect amount of schlock that like
Schlock.
you have to turn your brain off and just
Sure.
accept that there's like an alien
Hold up,
and
hold
there's
up,
a
hold
few
up.
predators.
When you just said when my dad took me and my friend
Oh, as
wasn't
a
old
child,
enough,
it's
I was
great.
about to say
As a child,
my
it's
brain
great.
was turned off.
Yeah.
So for a kid whose brain can't turn on, this film was incredible.
But like as an adult, like I look at it now and been like, what were we
who
doing?
is
Why,
watching Alien versus Predator as an adult?
why was in the Antarctic? What was the point of that?
Oh, because
No,
it was an
he's like
ancient
the COVID,
society,
the COVID
man.
virus, just frozen
Doc,
in the
there's
Arctic.
plenty of ancient societies in
Yeah,
warm
but
weather
think
too.
about
They
it,
were like,
man.
let's put it
Way
in
back in the
Antarctic.
day, we were all one big connected continent, Pangea. So is it crazy to think there might have been an ancient civilization that
Doug would have
floated
guessed
away?
inside.
Just,
He would have guessed inside, just off of that alone.
And I'm
You'd be
with
like
him
the
because I
credits
love
guy.
the film. I'm giving
It'd have
it.
been like the critics understood it too. Those snobby people.
You don't get it. You just don't get it. All right. Well, you've made the competition hot. It's going to make silence round that much more pertinent. But before we get to that, I got to flip it to Dougie. Dougie Fresh. We're looking at number 12 here, or number 11 here is a spicy one because I think it's going to throw you through a loop. But I also, and will agree, think this is an incredible film. Mad Max Fury Road.
Damn it! I was afraid I was going to get this
Oh,
one.
what a
this is in
great
my top
movie.
5 favorite movies.
What a great movie.
This might be my number 1 overall.
Dude, this is an incredible movie.
It's so good. It's so good. You better fucking get this right. Sorry for cussing.
Okay, sketch.
I'm going to go Within.
Son of a gun, Doug. You got it right.
Way to hit the layup, man.
At least Will's really got his finger on the pulse. You're catching what to read when evaluating in or out. So, Mad Max, the tomato meter gave it 97%. The critics gave it a 97%. The thing that blew my mind, the users gave it 86%. Definitely would have thought it'd be.
Wait,
I thought it'd be
97
the
to
other way.
86, That's outside 10.
No, 9.
Oh, 89. Excuse me. I thought you said because simply put, I can answer that so simplistically that I know you love Marvel, but this came out during the Marvel, like before it
During
got
the
like,
law.
yes, exactly. Not enough CGI explosions, not enough explosions and cool stuff, and he doesn't talk. And also Mad Max.
Not enough women
Oh.
empowerment.
No,
also
no,
Mad Max, and he hardly talks, and he's more of like Charlie Theron character.
You know
That's
what?
why. That's 100% why. And the critics, like myself, watch it and we're like, this is fucking majestic.
But the problem is, you can't take that position when the critics miss the mark so much on all the other films.
Which one?
I would say.
Oh no, I agree. They got this one right.
Well,
right.
They got this one right.
That's what I mean.
But
you
for the
can't be like with
users-
the professionals.
No, but in most of these cases, I've been surprised. Like the user usually has ended up being higher. I'm like, oh wow, really? People are getting it. This was like play next to like Marvel, Black Panther, and everyone saw Black Panther as like best picture. It's so good. I've never seen a Marvel movie like that one before. As if Captain America didn't do the same thing, but the dude was white. Like that's why they gave a damn about that. Everyone watched this movie and was like, it's called Mad Max, but he's not the main character. I don't get it.
And he doesn't seem mad enough.
Shut up,
She
dork.
does seem mad, yeah.
Shut up, dork.
The best part of the whole
Dorks.
movie, the best part of the whole movie is the guy with the guitar just like attached to the
It's an
jersey.
actual whammy.
There you go. You see what the people care about?
It's an actual whammy. Like, it actually was him hitting the whammy bar, and it was causing the fire to come out. And it's like, that's so cool. But they were like, Black Panther's black, and he's great. That's why it won. Made me so disheartened in the film franchise for so long.
Watch out, Rotten Tomatoes. Will's got opinions.
I've done. Black Panther is one of the most overhyped movies of all time. It's good. It's good. It did nothing different.
Hot take.
All right. This is either going to mean we have a hot competition and got to go to the tiebreaker, or Silent Destroyer pulls ahead with the W. But going to the last one here, Silent.
I hope you get this wrong so he has to start finding movie posters out of his ass.
Oh, no. You'll love this one. Where you at? Last one. Brokeback Mountain.
I couldn't give you an idea of what this might be.
idea.
Is it within or outside the
I'm
margin
gonna
of
tell you.
error?
I'll give you a hint right now. The critics love the hell out of this movie.
That they did.
But did the people?
I'm gonna say outside. I'm gonna say outside.
Seriously, dude? We couldn't have had it. You couldn't have won this thing?
What are you talking about, Silent? We love our days.
It's within 10%. The tomato meter
It's
the
right at 10.
The critics gave it 88%,
I was going to say they love them gays.
whereas the users gave it 82%.
That was actually higher than I
Interesting.
thought you were going to be like 88, 78. You just hit the mark.
I don't. You're not gonna like this one. I don't have a graphic for it. So go to Will's because it's gonna be the two of them against each other. All right. So we're going to Rotten Tomatoes. The last one I have for you, the tiebreaker. First one to yell, the buzzer is gonna be movie. So when I finish saying the title, first one to say movie gets to take the stab at it first. The movie film.
Oh,
I have it. Ready?
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame.
movie.
Go ahead. Tell me.
I feel bad for Silent. For me, it was just simply just say movie, and then you get the answer first. So it's Avengers Endgame, right? Avengers Endgame. I'm gonna give it the inside.
Silent, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna also say the same thing.
Tiebreaker goes to who buzzed first. It's with inside. Can you believe the critics gave it 94%? The users gave it 90%.
Yeah.
Well, but it's,
But it makes
for,
sense
for,
because it's one of the biggest films of all
for
time.
prosperity purposes, because I did not like that one as an Infinity War. Can you just look up Infinity Wars just out of my own curiosity real
Yeah,
quick?
that's
I
why I
personally
went with
here,
Endgame.
I was very critical of Black Panther. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's a very overhyped, overrated movie. I think Infinity War was a
So
much more superb film than
I thought
Endgame.
Eternals was a great Marvel movie.
Oh, God.
Yep. Well, all right.
Critics gave Infinity War 85%. Users gave it 92%. That would have been outside.
85 to 92. How would that be outside? That's within 10.
Oh, yeah, it would have been inside. No, no.
85 to 92.
85 to 92.
I was like, don't.
The inverse would have been a problem.
Come on, man.
All right. So Will takes away the lead. He's our victor. He's the cinephile of the group. But Silent, thank you for giving us your time. We're going to be
Thank you guys
closing
for
down
having
the
me.
episode here. So if you could do me the favor, tell the good folks at home where they could find you.
Kick.com/slime-destroyer. Live every single day.
Gang sign.
That's right. Don't miss them. Go find the man. We go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. So be sure to join us. We got different shows. Like I said, Doug over there is going to be chugging an ice on the Sunday football review. We've got a Buckeye championship to get excited about as we get into the NFL, AFC, NFC championship and prepare for the Super Bowl. A lot to review, a lot to get excited for. But also wake up in the morning, have a palate cleanser and a few laughs as we do our reactions channel and just scope and review some of the wild videos of the internet. So that's on our reactions channel. We've got the podcast that comes out Thursday. And then we also, not the live show, but the regular podcast and all other types of content, which you could find in one central place, which is at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. But the key here is if we made you laugh, if we made you think, be sure to share this link, retweet, share, spread it around, because if you liked it, that means someone else you know will too. And the most important thing is to help us and give back to what we're doing here. And the best way to do that is to share. But be sure to like, hit the notification bell, and subscribe so that way you don't miss us the next time. But we'll see you next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Peace.